What? World conscription? Is it real? With such a rule, Marine is crazy. As long as you have strength and a clean background, you can be promoted exceptionally? Are you kidding me? This is simply unacceptable. Big Mom pirates, it's scary. Those guys in Marine, are they being pushed into a hurry? The aloof world government and the naval headquarters, who are the overlords of the sea, have to make changes. Breaking news. As newsbirds fly around the world. 4 seas, the first half of the Grand Line, and even the New World. The entire sea couldn't help being in an uproar, and countless people were shocked and inexplicable, some couldn't believe it. The world government and naval headquarters, in order to enhance their strength, have unexpectedly compromised to such an extent that there is no bottom line to compromise and promote those strong folks who have strength. It's unbelievable. At the same time, Yin Haike landed. Some strong folks who are confident enough in their own strength, have ambitions, and ideals have begun to pay attention. Especially those guys who have both strength and ambition, who are unwilling to be mediocre, can't help being overjoyed and ready to move. Eager to try. Marshal Kong, is this true? This is a compromise of justice, please forgive us for not accepting it. With the strength of Rear Admiral, you can directly become Rear Admiral, with the strength of Vice Admiral, you can become Vice Admiral, with the strength of Admiral, you can become Admiral. Are you kidding me? Does that mean they have strength beyond Admiral, so that they can directly become Marines Marshals? This kind of world conscription is too unreasonable. We can understand Naval Headquarters' determination to strengthen and uphold justice, but cannot accept that. It's so simple that those specially recruited guys are in high positions. What if there are some unscrupulous ambitions coming in? Justice shall not be profaned, and at this moment. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. It was even more turbulent, and there was an endless uproar. Numerous Marines were outraged and extremely dissatisfied, and gathered in front of the Naval Headquarters building to protest. Ask for an explanation, and request to withdraw the order of world conscription and promotion. If they only need strength to be able to be promoted exceptionally, then what are the feats that they have put in their lives and fought against the ferocious pirates on the front line over the years, and paid countless blood and sweat, and worked so hard on the front line? What are those martyrs who sacrificed their lives and sacrificed for justice in order to fight against evil, but are just unknown soldiers? The highest floor of the Naval Headquarters building. In the Marshal's office, Kong opened the corner of the curtain, and had a panoramic view of the Marines who gathered there to protest in the square below. The Marine Marshal sat there bored, with a headache. If possible, he doesn't want to do it either. However, the unprecedentedly corrupt sea situation, and the pressure from the world government and the major alliance countries. But he had to pinch his nose and bite the bullet to sign this order. Even if it may cause extremely bad effects, but as long as Marine can recover as soon as possible. This turbulent situation can be suppressed as soon as possible, and the successive disasters can be quelled. It is even more possible to save a large number of lives that are constantly threatened by those vicious pirates. At that time, it will not be too late to scrape the bone to cure the poison. And these, obviously, Suru, who is the think tank of Marine, has already thought of it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have agreed so simply when 5 elders asked. Although, it is also possible that she is more aware that the 5 elders, who hold the highest power in the world government, have already made a decision, and it is useless for her to be opposed by a mere Marine staff officer. After pondering for a moment, for fear of causing any trouble, Kong, who felt a little ashamed to face those passionate Marine soldiers, dialed the number of the Marine Staff Department. Resignedly, he directly ordered to Marine Staff Officer Suru Vice Admiral, Little Crane, go and appease those emotional soldiers. The phone bug imitated the outline of Suru Vice Admiral, and sighed softly there. Understood, I'll go down right away. Click. Prehistoric island, Little Garden. An extremely bloated figure. There it opened its huge mouth, continuously devouring skewers and minerals. Mountains were mercilessly hollowed out and swallowed by the hinterland of the same island, and a large amount of metal substances were extracted from them to synthesize the strongest shape memory alloy. An extremely sharp and extremely exaggerated giant sword. From the belly of Dr. Hawkins, it was gradually pulled out by Blue Ogre. Quack quack quack, what an incredible ability. Blue Ogre's eyes were burning. Holding this giant sword made for himself as a titan, the whole body is silvery white, and the cold light is shining. Waving there, a violent wind pressure blew up. The corners of his mouth couldn't help grinning, indescribably satisfied. Whether it's material, weight, or even sharpness, it's far better than the weapon I used in the past, and it's so handy. Of course, this is not inferior to the quality of famous knives. Sneyman said proudly with his hips akimbo. It has to be said that the ability of Munch Munch fruit is too great. After Dr. Hawkins used it to perfectly combine the power of science and technology, not to mention the huge effects it produced. It is to create this kind of pure cold weapon, and the quality is quite amazing. Comparable to the world's most prestigious craftsman. The gun of Albuff. And this time, the huge right arm was full of blue veins, and the muscles all over his body were tense, and the extremely sharp alloy giant sword was swung high. Everyone present felt that Blue Ogre's momentum had changed, and he kept climbing up there. It's as ferocious as a huge beast, cannot be taken lightly. Hakoku. There was a loud shout like a bell. Ohm. Accompanied by an unparalleled loud noise. The atmosphere is directly crushed and distorted. A dazzling, huge shock wave appeared out of thin air, destroying the ancients, tearing the ground in front of them, straight out towards the direction of the sea. Boom, smoke billowed. The violent wind pressure could not stop raging. Even the people in the center of the island couldn't help but staggered, some couldn't open their eyes, and couldn't look directly. Clatter. Crash. And on the surface of the sea, it was even more boiling. Waves of huge waves surged there, sweeping in all directions. It was indescribably shocking. Quack quack quack, the anomaly is in your hand. Amazing. Is this the strength of the leader of the giant soldier pirates? Worthy of being the strongest Titan warrior in Albuff. On the prehistoric island. Dispersed with a large cloud of smoke and dust. A huge ditch that is hundreds of meters wide and stretches to the direction of the sea appears there. Yamato, Hancock and others couldn't help being a little shocked. As a body type, even among the Titan clan, they are all extremely tall fighters. The huge body size advantage is indeed incomparable. Witnessing this astonishing scene, Wilhelm couldn't help chuckling. Perhaps, only his future brother or sister can surpass the love ghost. If he can inherit the bloodline of the ancient Titan race, and at the same time be as talented and savvy as Smoothie or even Katakuri. To what extent can the most powerful spear of Albav be used? Let him inexplicably look forward to it. Originally, no matter how confident he was. I dare not say whether Jalo Linlin can give birth to other children with monster talents. But not necessarily now. He glanced at the lucky girl in his arms, Bakara. At that time, you only need to let Bakala absorb a lot of luck every day. Then let her try her best to turn the luck she won into wish, and bless it day after day. Maybe it can be done. Even if I cast Hakoku at full strength, I will not be affected at all. This sword is really amazing. Holding the huge sword that was steaming and completely unchanged, Blue Ogre gritted his teeth and said, Dory, your gun of Albuff is really getting stronger. Brogy was filled with emotion, although he can also play Albuff's gun alone. But it can't be as relaxed and freehand as Blue Ogre, let alone such exaggerated power. Originally, such power required the two former leaders of the giant soldier pirates to jointly display Hakoku. Now Blue Ogre can do it all by himself. Tuntun factory shaping. At this time, Dr. Hawkins, who swallowed a large amount of minerals again, shouted, Alloy Titan Battleaxe. He was already more bloated and taller than his usual main body, and he became even bigger again. Swipe. In a blink of an eye, a huge axe that also shone with metallic luster emerged from the belly of Dr. Hawkins. Very heavy. The ground roared. Woohoo! Red Ogre, Brogy, whose eyes were shining, firmly held the sharp and heavy giant axe, and swung it around. Accompanied by bursts of hurricanes that make people unable to open their eyes. Howling endlessly. Kawawawa, awesome, better than the one I used before. Brogy burst out laughing. Like Blue Ogre, he also loves his new great axe a little. In this way, we don't have to worry about lack of weapons at hand, and we don't have to worry about it being easily damaged. Quack quack quack, I've decided, Brogy. Inserting the giant sword into the ground, standing there like a giant mountain, the high-spirited Blue Ogre said loudly, since the giant soldier pirates have become a thing of the past, our next pirate group will be called New Pirates, Giant Soldiers Pirates, all right. It can be regarded as commemorating and welcoming our two newly born partners. The new giant soldier pirates? Kawawawa, not bad. Brogy was clearly okay. Because, Blue Ogre was already the leader he recognized from the bottom of his heart. The next step is to build a brand new ship for you, Wilhelm said with a smile. He naturally knew what Blue Ogre meant. The new giant soldier pirates have nothing to do with the original, Dory. It belongs to him, led by Blue Ogre, to the new giant soldier pirate group towards a new era. Kawawa, if you want to build a ship, I'm sorry to bother you. Brogy scratched his head and said, also, the boat we're going to build is bigger. As he spoke, he pointed to the side. Piled up there like a hill, exaggeratedly large giant wood. Don't worry about that. Taking out a whole green, seemingly ordinary deformed leaf again, Wilhelm smiled slightly. It doesn't take much effort. Blue Ogre is his subordinate after all, and has great potential, so he is willing to bother. After all, ordinary boats are not suitable for white people. Not to mention, as a pirate, it is bound to be possible to often fight on the sea. Moreover, the current Blue Ogre and Red Ogre are both demon fruit power. If the pirate ship is not strong enough, it is obvious that they cannot withstand their exaggerated strength. Maybe when fighting the enemy, they will sink themselves into the bottom of the sea before they can deal with the enemy. Quack quack quack. Thank you then, Wilhelm. See Wilhelm say so. Blue Ogre couldn't help laughing happily, looking forward to it. The sea is so wonderful, he can't wait, he wants to go out to sea. Immediately afterwards, there are two Titan warriors in Blue Ogre and Red Ogre. Even in the astonished and inexplicable eyes of Yamato, Hancock, Armand, Custard and others. Dr. Hawkins, once again devoured a large number of huge logs that were felled by Blue Ogre and Red Ogre and prepared to be used for shipbuilding. Using the ability of Munch fruit, mixed a small amount of metal substances into it, and synthesized iron wood, with a hardness comparable to steel, and no worse than the material of the treasure tree, atom. Then, Wilhelm directly used the deformed leaves to conjure Douglas Bullet. Using the ability of the other party's paramecia combined fruit, they spliced together into an exaggeratedly large ship that was 200 meters long in a blink of an eye. Then, Blue Ogre and Red Ogre used the ability of Dr. Hawkins to use Munch fruit to strengthen and decorate the tools they built for them. It took less than half a day to come down. A brand new 3-masted sailing giant ship is already lying on the sea. On both sides, the 8-gate is horizontally huge, and the black heavy large caliber heavy artillery makes people break out in a cold sweat. Although the appearance is not very gorgeous, it is very haki overall, and its sturdiness far exceeds the expectations of Blue Ogre and Red Ogre. And there is also an outer wheel device above, which needs manpower to drive. For the Titan with infinite strength, it couldn't be more suitable. In particular, through the perfect combination of a large number of exquisite pulley blocks in the hull structure, the load is reduced layer by layer. Even ordinary Titan warriors can easily drive the outer wheel with their own strength, allowing the target ship to accelerate forward without relying on wind power. To ensure that it can deal with any unexpected situation in this unpredictable sea. There is also a set of Dr. Hawkins, built with the ability of Munch fruit, a filter device that can convert seawater into fresh water, and a large ice bank, so that they, Titan warriors with a huge appetite, can go on it. Store lots of food. And on the huge sail made by Munch fruit ability, invulnerable to guns and guns, not afraid of fire and water, and extremely light, there is a striking skull logo graffitied on it. A flag of the giant pirates. At the top of the huge mast, it flutters in the wind, hunting. What is surprising is that this ship named Titan Glory Warrior is on the bow. A huge statue stands there, which is the majestic and inviolable figure of Wilhelm. This is what Blue Ogre and Red Ogre asked Dr. Hawkins to do. In the words of two people, this symbolizes their eternal friendship with Wilhelm. In the eyes of Armand, Castard, Sneyman, and Strawn. This means that the new giant soldier pirates are undoubtedly equivalent to being under the disguised income of their younger brother Wilhelm. Caw out. Quack quack quack. So Wilhelm, here we go. That afternoon. Kill a large number of beasts as food reserves. Blue Ogre and Red Ogre, two warriors of the Titan clan, couldn't wait to ride the newly baked giant ship Glory Warrior Titan, using the permanent pointer Wilhelm gave them, and headed directly for the capital of the Seven Waters. When they get there, there will be intelligence personnel from the Big Mom pirates to guide them on how to go to the French island. The main reason is that I am also worried that this time, with great fanfare and the release of restricted world conscription, Marine will recruit some amazingly powerful guys in the shortest possible time. If they invade the Enies lobby by then, they may encounter trouble. After all, the geographical location is special. Once the Enies lobby calls for help, the reinforcements sent by naval headquarters can reach their destination in less than 2 hours by virtue of the huge vortex current. Arriving at the French island one day earlier and rescuing the two stupid Titan fighters, Oimo and Gaia, can reduce the risk by 1 point. Bon voyage. Goodbye, Dory, Brogy, New World. Watching off the huge pirate ship, it headed towards the capital of the Seven Waters. Yamato, Garrett, Hancock, Prim and the others all waved their hands warmly to see them off. Looking at the sky, Armand puffed out the smoke, and asked Wilhelm who was standing there, "Then Wilhelm, shall we leave too?" "Don't worry, there is nothing important to do next." Wilhelm smiled and said, "Let's stay here for one night first, and then leave tomorrow. First go to Sky Island. When the time comes, head to East Blue again. After you have visited all over the world, you will re-enter the Grand Line and choose a route for adventure." The reason why I went to Sky Island first. The main purpose is to give that Paramecia steel fruit to the little ghost, War Ghost, Vipa, and then use the ability of Paramecia ripe fruit to ripen the other party for 10 years. I hope that the other party's future performance will not disappoint him. In the Big Mom pirate group, some large and small matters can be handed over to Katakuri. On the other side of his island of love, there are strong people like Smoothie, Sakamuni, and Kamaitachi sitting in town, so there is no need to worry about any problems. Under his name, he began to fight everywhere, and the Wilhelm fleet, which showed its minions to other forces in the New World, was in charge of 5 cadres: Shiryu Amami, Musashi Miyamoto, Ryoma the Swordsman, Kull the Feathered Serpent, and Gecko Moria. Even against the Beasts Pirates or the Whitebeard Pirates, conflict is inevitable. As long as it is not an all-out war, there is nothing to worry about. And he's next. It is traveling around the world and precipitating oneself. Strive to make another breakthrough within 2 years. At least to achieve, even without relying on any devil fruit's ability, he can become a well-deserved great swordsman with only swordsmanship, and can compete with those monsters. Sky Island? Really? Awesome. Hear about Wilhelm's plans. Yamato, Garrett, Prim, Bakula and other girls. They couldn't help but their eyes lit up, and they jumped up excitedly. Even Armand, Yasho, Castard, Strawn, and Sneyman couldn't help smiling, full of anticipation. Ordinary members of the Charlotte family are not as free as Wilhelm. As the children of Big Mom, they were destined to be used as tools by Charlotte Linlin to realize their ambitions from birth, and they must expand the territory for the Big Mom pirates. At least, if their mother Charlotte Linlin, the Queen of Todo Land, no one would dare to disobey. The only exception is this brother Wilhelm. Of course, there are so many strong players under Wilhelm's command right now. As long as it's not fighting the Beasts Pirates, the Whitebeard Pirates, or the naval headquarters. There is no need for him to worry about ordinary conquests. Of course it's true. Looking at the sky at dusk, Wilhelm said with a smile, "Today's weather is good, let's hold a bonfire party." As the most popular, thrilling noble son in the Charlotte family, he doesn't have any so-called idle baggage. The pursuit of strength does not mean that he really wants to treat himself as a training machine. When it is time to enjoy a good life, he will never treat himself too badly. Otherwise, 3 years ago, he wouldn't have allowed Maiz Alib, a young and beautiful female pirate who was rescued from Marine, to stay by his side. Especially after having enough self-protection power and controlling one's own destiny. He even let go of his scruples. Party? Awesome. Long live Wilhelm Big Brother. Next, overjoyed and motivated, everyone collected materials on the spot. They all did it by themselves, found a lot of dry firewood, and built it into a small tower. And prepare the ingredients from the island. As night falls, light the firewood. A blazing bonfire, burning there, illuminates the shore. Even a whole set of audio equipment was moved out. Don't doubt that this technology tree is completely deviated, and this deformed world full of black technology really has these things. Ding ding. Dong dong. Dang dang. The passionate DJ, with a powerful melody, swayed on the coast of this small garden. Together with the newly joined Bakula, the girls went crazy, singing, jumping and dancing there. Hancock's beautiful singing voice, Yamato's tone-deaf ghost howls, Alibi's bold dance moves. Even Armand, Yasho, and Castard, the adult female members of the Charlotte family, gradually let go of their usual restraint. I ordered a few songs there and sang along with the melody. And Snarman, Strong and the others are only 16 years old, and they are in their youth. Naturally, such an atmosphere would not be rejected. Had a great time. And Wilhelm, the noble son, who is the center of the audience, is naturally not exempt. Under the strong request of Sneyman and other women, he simply composed a brisk melody and sang, My All, which he liked a lot in his previous life. How much time we experienced together, how much distance we walked together, MG. What we have left so far, although it is not perfect, it has been brilliant. The magnetic and intoxicating voice instantly amazed the audience. It seems that this is not on the shore of the humble coast, but a world-class stage. And there stood a world-class superstar, as Katakuri said to Perispero and other members of the Charlotte family at Cake Island that day. Wilhelm has a personality charm that others do not have. Even if he has not deliberately practiced his singing skills, his perfect voice full of magnetism can also drive other people's emotional ups and downs invisibly. Even the little girls who were making noise there immediately fell silent. His eyes were shining, heart-shaped, staring intently at Wilhelm's tall and handsome figure with fanaticism. Especially Prim, Garrett and the others were even more excited and moved to tears. And Armand, Yasho, Castard, Aleb, Sneyman and the others. She couldn't help her heart trembling, and there was an indescribable splendor in her eyes. Even Strong, the 15th daughter among the 3 sisters of the Chongha clan, couldn't help but make up her mind at this moment and made a certain decision. She decides, she wastes, ding ding, dang dang. A bonfire banquet, hearty and dripping. Even Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, and Prim drank a lot of alcohol with Wilhelm's tacit approval. Accompanied by the beautiful melody and rhythm, several drunken little girls, even Armand, Sneyman, and Castard, could not help holding hands, twisting their bodies and dancing. And Wilhelm sat there with a smile, holding a glass. Appreciate their graceful dancing posture and passionate fluctuation. He didn't reject it, but rather enjoyed the atmosphere. Wilhelm, big brother, you come too. Let's dance together. Hee. Carnival until late at night. Wilhelm directly uses the ability to transfer fruit. Get these girls who are so drunk, staggering on their feet, and have already started talking nonsense. They were all sent back to their respective rooms. In the end, there was only Castard, who was already drunk, but his baby face was getting more and more ruddy. Wilhelm stepped forward and hugged her across the face. My dear sister Castid, do you want to go back to the Ark or stay on the island? Looking at Castid, who was pretending to be drunk, Wilhelm asked with a smile, bowing his head and smiling in his ear. Full of magnetic sound. Castard, whose face was flushed, opened his eyes. Those jewel-like pupils were watery and full of confusion. Without blinking, he looked at the handsome face that was so close to him, and bit Wilhelm's ear angrily. Damn bad brother, what did you do to sister during the day? She is no fool. In the morning, after regaining composure, everything became clear very quickly. Shame and annoyance, but more apprehension, shame, confusion. Wilhelm's devilish words in the morning echoed in Castard's mind from time to time. She was so absent-minded that she didn't have any thoughts on cultivation at all. She's a good drinker though, but not very fond of drinking. So, I wasn't drunk at all, I just pretended to be. Unexpectedly, he was still punctured by this bad brother. Morning. Sister Castard, what do you mean? Wilhelm raised an eyebrow. It seems that some have forgotten and can't remember. But there was an indescribable smile in those golden eyes. Just staring straight at Castard's cute red baby face. You know for yourself. Castard tilted his head angrily. But his heart was beating violently, the damn charm of the stinky brother was too lethal. Before he could struggle to get up, but the next moment, her eyes suddenly widened. Well, clatter. The morning sun cut through the night. It illuminates the undulating sea surface, the golden ripples are gorgeous and beautiful. When Sneyman and Armand, who were a little dizzy, finished washing one after another. Get up early habitually, when you come out for morning exercises. But I saw Wilhelm alone on the coast, constantly wielding the ability of Paramisha tons of crushing fruit, transformed into a blade similar to Kong Yunya, and adjusted his body weight to Homies, which weighed thousands of tons ape. Morning, Wilhelm, Master Wilhelm, big brother, morning. Strange, Sister Castid didn't get up early today? When we got up in the past, she had already trained there. Yamato, Garrett, Hancock, Armand, Sneyman, Olive and other girls. All of them were somewhat surprised and inexplicable. Karstad is the madman among them. The level of effort is second only to Wilhelm, rain or shine. It was really surprising that I didn't see her get up early. She took me last night and drank too much wine, she probably couldn't get up. Wilhelm, who was not flushed and angry, responded with a chuckle there. It is impossible for him to say that someone was too crazy yesterday and insisted on being a dragon knight. He also rejected his proposal to treat him with 10 rings, and shrank in the room, not daring to see anyone. Yes? It turned out to be like this. Armand, Strong, Sneyman and the others nodded in amazement. And Wilhelm's maid, Olive, stared at the refreshed look of Master Wilhelm, thoughtfully. On the beautiful pretty face, the corners of the mouth slightly raised. A meaningful smile flashed across his eyes. Although Armand, Sneyman, Strong and others are all members of the Charlotte family, except for the relatively close siblings, their relationship with each other was not very warm in the past. She had been with Custard for 2 or 3 years. I know too much about the character of the 6th daughter of the Charlotte family. It was unprecedented to be able to let go of my restraint and drink so much wine yesterday. It was impossible for them to continue to drag this Master Wilhelm to drink after they passed out. But she didn't have any contempt or sarcasm, and she didn't mean to expose it. Who can resist the charm of Lord Wilhelm? Even if it was transposed, she would do the same. Maybe even put it into action already, with such a perfect brother. Even if you want to fall into the abyss, I'm afraid it's too sweet. Brother Wilhelm, have you returned your life now? Strong jumped lightly, with amazing jumping ability. Soon he came to the shore and asked Wilhelm who was training there. This level of mysteries can't trouble me. Wilhelm raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. Obviously, he didn't expect Strong to ask such a question, but he still replied directly. However, I have only grasped it initially, and haven't studied it in depth yet. Talking. His long silver hair it suddenly danced against the sea breeze. It turned into clusters and clusters, forming a finger shape. Just like the return of life performed by Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Ghost Spider that day. I remember, Brother Wilhelm, you said that if you master the ultimate of life return, you should be able to change your shape freely, right? Strong asked with sharp eyes. About whether I can lose weight. Strom has no doubts, she feels that she has such determination. But I'm afraid that after I lose weight, my facial features are still not good looking enough, so I want to use the power of life return to adjust. Oh? Sister Strong, do you want to lose weight? Wilhelm raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, it's not easy to control the return of life. He suggested. Also, if you want to lose weight, you can use the ability of munch fruit. That's 2 different things. I don't want to be swallowed because it's disgusting. Strong shrugged. Although she is a bit fat, she is also a clean freak. It's not really against using devil fruit abilities to make yourself pretty. But no matter whether it is swallowed by the real Dr. Hawkins or the fake Dr. Hawkins, it is really unacceptable. With your current body shape, it is actually very easy to lose weight, but since Sister Strong, you want to learn how to return your life, then I will guide you how to practice. Clatter. After a few days, in unknown seas. On the vast sea, the waves are rough. The huge ark was just there in the sky. Damn woman. However, it's really beautiful. There are still mermaids. Ah ha ha, then save your life and have a good time. Ah. Damn it, Jeff. Don't be careless, kill them. Bang bang. Clang. Boom. Boom, ah. Shouts and gunfire echoed. A pirate ship tens of meters long lay across the sea. A group of vicious pirates rushed towards the young and beautiful figures in front of them holding their swords incomparably ferociously, and some even held guns and shot there mercilessly. And those beautiful figures are Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, and Prim. There are also people with heart-shaped eyes, looking at Hancock who is tall, beautiful, and full of invisible charm, and people can't help but be fascinated by it. However, they were all banned from using the devil fruit ability by Wilhelm. Fight with these mediocre pirates there, and sharpen your body. Woo, woo. Paper arts. A round of bullets came lacing. But Yamato, who is tall and tall, is like a piece of paper, dancing with the wind. Easily dodged the rain of bullets. Shave. Immediately afterwards, she stomped on her feet. The figure rushed out like lightning, and rushed several meters away. Boom. Ah. The exaggerated mace in her hand ruthlessly blasted away several pirates who fired at her. Together with those pistols, they all disintegrated. The other side. Hancock is also not to be outdone. She dodges several incoming bullets. Bang, kicked an extremely ferocious, 2-meter-tall strong man who was slashing with a knife. Leaping high, her sexy figure turns around. Tempest kick. His right leg kicked out like electricity. A light green slash. It directly tore through the atmosphere and stormed out towards the pirates in front. Ah. On the side, Prim and Garrett. In the case of no fruit, the performance is slightly worse. Because their aptitude is far inferior to the 2 geniuses Yamato and Hancock. Even because the time of exposure to the 6 styles is still short, he has not mastered any of them. But after all, he is a member of the Charlotte family, and his physical fitness is not bad, so he has no problem dealing with those pirates. Above the ark above. The silver-haired, unbelievably handsome Wilhelm was holding Bakara, a lucky girl who was only 10 years old. With Armand, Strong, Sneyman, Olive, Custard and other girls, they looked down and watched Yamato in their battle. Yamato had the best performance, followed by Hancock, followed by Garrett and Prim. Overall, though, the performances are good. These pirates who have just broken into the Grand Line are obviously impossible to be their opponents. Yamato is indeed the daughter of Kaido of the Beasts. She has short violet hair and a beautiful and delicate baby face with a faint smile. With every frown and smile, there is a bit more mature style than before. It looks gorgeous and moving. Custard couldn't help but exclaimed. In a short period of time, she has already mastered shaving and paper arts. Those pirates can't hurt her at all. Hancock is not bad either. He is very talented in kicking skills. Not only has he mastered shaving, but he has also mastered Tempest Kick. Strong put his arms in his arms, admiring there. I don't know if it is an illusion. Vaguely, she was noticeably thinner than when she was on the prehistoric island a few days ago. I seem to see two little monsters growing up like Katakori's big brother. Sneyman was a little emotional. After all, Wilhelm personally selected the candidates, and they all have the rare conqueror's qualifications. Such performance is also normal. Armand puffed out the smoke lightly. Master Garrett and Master Prim are not as good as the two of them, but their performance is not bad. They are more than enough to deal with these low-level pirates. Ms. Olive said with a smile. She did this not as a compliment but as a compliment to Doran. At first, when Wilhelm accepted her as a maid and took the initiative to follow her side. She is not very talented, but when she was learning the 6 styles, her performance was a mess, which made people unbearable to look directly at her. Quack, and this time. In the sky, a newsbird flew by. Raising his eyebrows, Ms. Olive waved towards it. Precisely put a coin into the money bag hanging around his neck. And the newsbird flew over directly. Holding a brand new newspaper in his mouth, he handed it to the other party. Then it continued to flap its wings and flew into the distance. Ah, I didn't expect Blue Ogre and Red Ogre to make trouble so soon. Ms. Olive glanced at it and said in surprise. It immediately attracted the attention of Armand, Sneyman, and Custard. Even Wilhelm couldn't help looking over. Oh? Are they in the news so soon? But it's normal when you think about it. After all, they are of the Titan race. Their huge body is naturally eye-catching, not to mention that the Glory Warrior Titan, built by Wilhelm for them is a bit exaggerated. The title is that the once disbanded giant soldier pirates announced their resurrection, and the new giant soldier pirates were born. Quickly browsing the news on the front page, Ms. Olive introduced the content of the newspaper. The T-Dolphin who has been promoted to Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral was leading a warship to chase a certain pirate yesterday. We ran into each other when we were in the group, and fought against them. But it seems that there is no winner. Blue Ogre and the others left the battlefield. Morgans, the news is really good. Wilhelm sneered. However, the 2 devil fruits he sent over are not bad. The big news the other day was Morgans at the tea party. I took a close-up photo of him and published it on the Shi Jing Bao, at the price of 2 devil fruits. People have already sent them to the Big Mom pirates, all of which are unknown devil fruits. Through the ability of Pado, to transform into a raccoon form, he was transformed into a he, using the ability to transfer fruits, after finding 2 death row prisoners for identification, 1 Paramecia and 10 Zone. Not great, but not too bad either. Gaia Island. With the opening of the Great Pirate Era, a more chaotic situation broke out. This place has completely evolved into a calm belt. Even the G8 branch, which is not too far away, is so busy because of the shortage of troops at the moment, that it is beyond the reach of the pirates gathered here. When the proverbs of the Ark came from across the sea, the port was full of large and small pirate ships at some point. Seeing the Ark flying at a height of 100 meters, all the pirates on the island couldn't help being stunned. That's the Big Mom pirates. The flying ship. Can't be wrong, it's the Ark proverbs. It is the ship of Charlotte Wilhelm, the Trembling Lord. How did they come here? To this day, Ark Proverbs, a flying ship, has already been spread all over the world with newspapers. Although this ship was built by Wilhelm for Smoothie, a Logia Thunderfruit capable person, because it is often used by Wilhelm, Marine misunderstood it as Wilhelm's ship, and issued an arrest warrant for 50 million Bailey's make. Therefore, some pirates on the island recognized the proverbs of the Ark and guessed that the Trembling Nobleman was probably on it. They all couldn't help feeling a little flustered. At the port, many people held their breath. Be there and watch. Wow. It's so lively. A lot of pirate ships. Are those guys all pirates? Above the Ark in the sky. Yamato, Hancock, Bakula, Prim, Garrett and the others are lying on the bow of the ship. Looking at the astonishing number of pirate ships below, as well as the pirates coming and going in the port, one can't help being surprised. More eager to try. Ah, there are a lot of pirates here. The heroic Sneyman said with one hand on his hips and a light smile. It's just some trash with no real strength. Armand had a cigarette in his mouth. He snapped his fingers indifferently, and the cigarette in his mouth ignited spontaneously, emitting wisps of smoke. Are you interested in making a move? Wilhelm looked at Armand, Custard and the others. A group of entry-level rookies who haven't experienced the horror of the Grand Line and don't know what a pirate is. A lady's cigarette is held between the index finger and middle finger of the right hand, and the cool Yasho puffs the smoke lightly, not interested. And Strom Zinnemann, Tad and the others shook their heads. Expressed no interest in making a move. Then I will give you 4 little girls a task, which can also be called a test. Whether you want to kill them or not, I hope that after 1 hour, there will be no more 10 pirates standing up on this island. Wilhelm looked as usual, smiled lightly and said to Yamato, Prim, Hancock, and Garrett, this time, you are allowed to use your abilities. As he spoke, he made a hook with his right hand. The 4 of them appeared on the port in an instant. 4 beauties? Suddenly appeared. Octopus feet? Is that the legendary mermaid? Are you from the Big Mom Pirates? A group of pirates only felt their eyes light up. They all couldn't help looking there, a little curious. But because of the fear of the Big Mom Pirates, or the trembling nobleman, on the ark above, no one dared to tease him. Let's start. Garrett chuckled and took off her gloves. And the silver bracelet on his hand turned into a plantain fan at a speed visible to the naked eye. Heat wave and storm. Unceremoniously, he slapped the nearest pirates hard. Woo-hoo-hoo. Boom, the violent heat wave surged out. It directly caused a violent explosion. The dozen or so pirates who were the first to bear the brunt screamed and were burned terribly. Even the other pirates around were thrown flying by the strong explosion. What? Damn it. Are they going to attack us? Bastards. Sudden upheaval. Let there be pirates on the pirate ship on the pier. They couldn't help being a little surprised and angry, and they were furious. Especially, the pirate group that the pirates who were attacked by Garrett belonged to. Even more anger came out, and he was about to fire. For men, except for that lord, death is the same, slave arrow. Hancock looked at the vicious pirates. The right hand lightly touches the red lips, and a huge heart-shaped substance expands and appears like a balloon. Pulled away by her like a bow and arrow, in an instant. Sheesh. Pink arrows shot out crazily. At an extremely fast speed, it shot towards those pirates. It's densely packed, and there's no way to avoid it. Ah. What is that? Damn it, ability user. The person who was shot turned directly into stone. Are these women crazy? We didn't provoke them. One and all the pirates hurriedly dodged, furious. A large number of pirates who couldn't dodge were instantly petrified. Let the other people can't help but feel cold. Hancock, I can't lose to you, immediately afterwards. Yamato growled. The whole person keeps expanding. Covered with peach-red scales, it looks like a monster. The hands turned into sharp claws, holding ferocious maces, rushed out like an extremely ferocious beast. Constant bombardment. Ah. Boom. Boom. Whatever the Big Mom Pirates. Go F*K your son, open fire. Damn women, fight with them. Blow them up. Bang bang, on the ark. Wilhelm, sitting at the bow of the ship, looked at the women who were slaughtering. The huge observation haki directly covers the White Sea at an altitude of 7,000 meters and the White Sea at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Relying on the ability to transfer fruits, a young figure came from the island of God, Apeado, located directly above Gaia Island. What? A young man with a bare upper body, tattoos on his body, and a pair of small white wings on his back, who seemed full of fierceness, only felt a blur in front of his eyes, and saw a complete change in the scene around him, and he couldn't help but feel vigilant. But when he saw Wilhelm sitting there, he couldn't help shrinking his pupils. Master Wilhelm. Tisk tisk, even the Bai Sea, which is 7,000 meters away, and the Bai Sea, which is 10,000 meters high, can accurately transfer people down. Sneyman recognized Vipa, a little surprised and inexplicable. Strong was also a little emotional. Wilhelm's strength is really getting more and more amazing. Weipa, don't be nervous, this is Qinghai, which is directly below the island of the gods. Well, the breath is much stronger than it was a few months ago, it seems that you haven't slacked off for a while. Looking at the boy in front of him, Wilhelm nodded in satisfaction. With a full face of fortitude, Vipa patted his chest and said loudly, "Of course, otherwise, how could we follow in the footsteps of Master Wilhelm? If you want to be my spear and shield, the current you are still far away." A strange devil fruit appeared in front of Vipa out of thin air, making him catch it subconsciously. Looking at the devil fruit with a strange spiral pattern, he looked at Wilhelm with some doubts. This is Paramecia steel fruit. After eating it, the body will become as indestructible as steel, and it can even emit astonishingly high heat. Wilhelm said lightly, "As for how far it can be achieved, we have to wait and see. Look at the capable person himself. Eat it, and then go down to fight. Let me see if you are worthy of the title of fighting." "Yes." Vipa's eyes lit up. There was a loud response. He had already heard about the existence of devil fruit from Wilhelm a few months ago. "I am full of yearning and longing for that godlike power." Without hesitation, he took a bite. The taste is very weird and makes people want to vomit. But he still suppressed the unspeakable disgust. Without changing his face, he ate all of this devil fruit. Armand, Yasho, and Custard couldn't help but be a little surprised and secretly praised. No wonder it was chosen by Wilhelm. Just this courage and will. It is not comparable to ordinary people. Brush. Suddenly, Wilhelm's figure flashed. It flew directly in front of Vipa. And his right hand rested on Vipa's head. On the little finger of the right hand that was already wearing 10 rings, a ring appeared at some point. This is the ring that carries Shinobu's Paramecia ripe fruit ability. After coming out this time, he purposely borrowed it from him. Repuration 10 years. After an hour, the entire Gaia island. Except for those native residents who have lived here for a long time. On the pirate ship in the port, on the pier. In the streets and alleys, there are figures lying here and there. Some have unfortunately died, and some are still struggling. Yuan how? I killed the most people. Yamato with a bit of a mess. Sticking a mace, triumphantly. Hancock tossed his long hair, squinted at Yamato, and argued there. Obviously it's me. I killed 50 people and seriously injured 231 people. A young man with tattoos on his body and a fierce face said lightly there. It was the grown-up war ghost Vipa. After a fierce battle, he was completely unscathed. The ability of Paramecia steel fruit makes him almost invincible. The pirates gathered on Gaia Island are generally not high in strength, and they don't even have a single capable person. Fight with you. Wearing a short red dress, the fair-skinned Garrett shrugged. Not to mention Prim, who was sitting there, cleaning his weapon, the trident. A person with the ability to be the fruit of Paramecia Dango. She is not very good at fighting, mainly manipulating those sea kings and beasts. But now those subdued beasts have been sent to the New World's Vermejo Islands, and there is no other beasts for her except Thunderbird Billy as her mount. Convenient. Not bad performance. Wilhelm holds the lucky girl Baccarat. With a light leap, he swept from the ark to the pier. Master Wilhelm, big brother. See Wilhelm appear. Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, Prim and the others couldn't help but be overjoyed. And Weipa couldn't help but feel refreshed. What happened today was like a dream to him. First, he was summoned from Sky Island inexplicably, and then he was given the power of Paramecia steel fruit, and finally he grew up 10 years old all of a sudden. The godlike power of Lord Wilhelm. Let him be full of admiration and awe, a little fanatical. Brush. Putting down Bacala in his arms, Wilhelm nodded. Thousands of pirates who were still alive were instantly targeted by his powerful observation haki. In an instant, all the dead were thrown into the sea, and the living ones were piled up on the spacious pier. There are also some petrified, unshattered pirate statues that were also transferred here by Wilhelm. I have already taken away the sharp weapons from these guys. Wilhelm touched Bacala's little head and said with a smile, Bacala, go and absorb their luck. Yes, Master Wilhelm. Bacala's eyes lit up, and she rushed forward excitedly. She has never tried the luck of absorbing so many people at once. Eh? Absorb their luck? Yamato scratched his head, curious. Ah, there are thousands of people. The luck of so many people will be great, right? If it's used for gambling, I think every gamble must win. Even Hancock, Garrett, and Prim, and even Yasho, Armand, Olib, Sneyman, Strawn, and Custard, who just swooped down from the ark, couldn't help but be amazed. I just want to try it. The corners of Wilhelm's mouth turned up in a small smile. Since Bacala's lucky fruit ability can absorb the luck of others. When luck is enough to support that wish, it can even make your wish come true. These days, he has made many attempts to target Paramecia Lucky Fruit's ability. Once let Bacala absorb the luck of a large number of pirates, and wanted to find more devil fruit, but failed. Perhaps, it was only by chance that Baccarat found the ability of the previous bird fruit, Phantom Beast, and New Form. The power possessed by devil fruit itself can counteract or ignore that kind of luck in the dark. But in other respects, wishes can be dispelled. Even if he wants the treasure, after getting enough luck in Bacala, after making a wish. It turned out to be possible, and immediately won a treasure map from the pirate he met. So, if you absorb enough luck, can you also make a breakthrough in your own strength? For example, his observation haki has already reached the limit, at a certain critical point, but he can't get in. Perhaps, there is really hope that with the help of Baccarat's ability, perhaps with the help of that trace of mysterious, invisible and intangible, luck, some kind of opportunity can be achieved. Thus epiphany, breakthrough is not necessarily. Swipe, swipe. Bacala took off her gloves. Trotted, touched every pirate who fell there and howled. Soon. The pirate touched by her, one by one began to be unlucky. Either accidentally hit the broken sharp blade and died, or choked to death by its saliva or blood in the mouth, or accidentally rolled into the sea and drowned, or fell to death when staggering up and trying to escape. All kinds of strange and extremely unusual ways of death. It made Vipa a little unbelievable, he couldn't help but feel cold, and his scalp felt numb. He glanced at Yamato, Hancock and others who were calm and familiar, and looked at the thin figure who was still absorbing the luck of those pirates. He was a little unbelievable. As that girl demon fruit power. Can you really absorb other people's luck, and make them unlucky? Not long. Thousands of pirates. Fewer than a few dozen people survived. Moreover, it was basically horrible, and there was only half a breath left. Master Wilhelm. Baccarat trotted over. I have absorbed all their luck. Then, next, try to make a wish. Wilhelm touched Bacala's little head, and said with a smile, I hope that my observation haki, which has reached the bottleneck, can achieve a breakthrough. Observation haki? Is that kind of thing really possible? Breakthrough on your observation haki? Is that an exaggeration? Yamato, Armand, Sneyman, Castard, Hancock and others. All of them couldn't help shrinking their pupils, looking at the smiling Wilhelm in shock and inexplicable. Unexpectedly, Wilhelm's goal was to use Baccarat's lucky fruit to make a breakthrough. Even Baccarat herself had her mouth slightly open. The pretty face looked at Wilhelm in surprise, a little unbelievable. Since following Wilhelm these days, she also began to receive the same rigorous training as Yamato and the others every day. I have already understood the power of haki. It's just that she can't guarantee that she can do such a thing with her own ability. The so-called luck is only to increase the probability of the realization of the heart's desire, not 100% can be realized. Well, why not give it a try? It's okay if you fail. Wilhelm shrugged, and said with a light smile indifferently. Besides, unlike yours, my observation haki is already at its limit, and I only need a certain opportunity to break through. Perhaps, Baccarat's ability can bring miracles and create such opportunities. A vast expanse of whiteness. On the Sky Island at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Lush vegetation, shrouded in clouds and mists, is full of the magical island of the gods, Apeado. Although except for the two sisters Strong and Sneyman, Yamato, Yasho, Bacala, Hancock, Garrett, Armand, Olib, Castard and others are all coming to Sky Island for the first time, full of surprises. But not the first time to travel. Instead, he paid close attention there. I saw a silver-white figure sitting cross-legged alone meditating. Wilhelm closed his eyes, feeling ethereal. It seems that all the disputes and troubles have been forgotten. Extended observation haki to ultimate. The entire Apeado, and even the sea area around the island, are shrouded in the sensing range of his observation haki. Countless people and things, 27, are all presented in his mind. Somehow, he felt that he could really see something unusual. But when he tries to do it, there is always an inexplicable barrier. Block it there, so that he cannot enter the door. Can it really work? This kind of thing is unbelievable no matter how you think about it. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Seeing that Wilhelm has been silent for a long time. Yamato, Yasho, Garrett, Prim, Armand, Bacala, Hancock, Olib, Castard and others. Already under the leadership of the two sisters Strawn and Sneyman, they went to Angel Island for sightseeing. Don't want to bother Wilhelm. As for the war ghost, he went to explain the situation to the patriarch of the Sandia clan. After all, suddenly growing 10 years old, even he himself can't believe it, let alone other people. And next, although he will not travel around with Wilhelm, the task or test that Wilhelm gave him is to use his own strength to break into the new world and go to the waters of Toto land. Therefore, he also needs to say goodbye to the clansmen. The sun was setting. Wilhelm, who has been sitting for a day, opened his eyes. His face was calm, neither happy nor sad. Did you fail? Perhaps, did not fail. He was there brooding. Because, his brain was unprecedentedly ethereal before. It was almost possible to seize that inexplicable opportunity and make a breakthrough. But something was missing, and I couldn't get in. If it is so easy to break through, it is too unreasonable. It's just the luck of 1,000 ordinary pirates. If that's the case, then we can only go there and give it a try. The corners of Wilhelm's mouth curled up, looking towards the direction of a certain deep-sea prison. He believed that there must be a difference between the luck of the strong and the luck of ordinary people. Brush. That night. Wait until Yamato, Hancock, Armand, Olive, Garrett, Castard and others return. A group of people, under the hospitality of the Shandia people, finished their dinner. You guys are waiting for me at Sky Island. Satisfied with food and drink, Wilhelm directly said to Armand, Castard and other women, I'm going to take Bacala to Impel down. Impel down? The world's largest deep-sea prison? Wilhelm, haven't you sent Shakia there to bring Red Earl Redfield and Douglas Bullet out? And you have to take Bacala there, don't you mean? Armand, Olive, Sneyman, Karstad and other women heard the news. Kin was taken aback and looked at Wilhelm with some surprise. Full of puzzlement. I can feel that Baccarat's ability is not completely useless. Wilhelm said in a deep voice there, but without wanting her to pay the price herself, to make my observation haki break through, the luck required is too great. The luck of the strong is different from the luck of ordinary people. In fact, such things as luck are illusory. Everyone's luck is different every day. If life is hard enough, if you don't die directly because of being absorbed by Bacala and taking luck. Ordinary strong people only need to survive the day, and they will recover or produce new luck. It's like leeks, you can't cut them all, is that so? Everyone suddenly. At the same time, there is even more expectation. Confident enough in Wilhelm's strength, they were not worried that the other party would be in danger at all. After all, it was just a mere Impel down, he had broken into it long ago. For others, it is known as the impregnable deep-sea prison, where even a fly cannot fly in, and it is impossible to get out. But in front of Wilhelm's ability to appear and disappear, no matter how strict the guards and defenses are, they are useless. In order to make it easier to go to Impel down again in the future, Wilhelm has already left the 5th floor of freezing hell. On the wall sealed by extremely thick ice, he left an imperceptible life card as a guide. No need to detour to Eni's lobby or naval headquarters at all. After a short rest, Wilhelm left Sky Island directly with Bacala. Let Armand, Hancock, Olive, Sneyman, Castard, and others stay on Sky Island and wait. Regardless of consumption, he constantly teleported on the sea surface by relying on Paramecia transferring fruit's terrifying ability. In less than 2 hours, I have already brought Bacala directly to the calm belt adjacent to South Blue, a huge deep-sea prison, Impel down. To this day, Wilhelm's physical strength was no longer comparable to before. Although the consumption is not small, but there is still plenty of physical strength to sneak into it. Swipe. The ability of Paramecia transparent fruit in 10 rings is activated. Wilhelm, who was holding the Bacala in the air while stepping on the moonwalk, and was extremely imperceptible in the night, disappeared directly into the midair. In the dark night, more than 20 warships, surrounded by the world's largest deep-sea prison, guard it firmly, airtight. The two figures, completely invisible to the naked eye, easily sneaked into the Impel down. Master Wilhelm, is this the deep-sea prison? I just feel a blur in front of my eyes. Then I found myself in Baccarat in a large building. The big eyes blinked, full of curiosity, and looked around. She could feel an extremely uncomfortable oppressive atmosphere. Vaguely, in the depths of this large prison, there were bursts of miserable howls from time to time. Inexplicable scalp tingling. Inside Impel down. Wilhelm, who was directly activated by the ability of the transparent fruit in the 10 rings, and made himself and Baccara invisible, led Baccara into prison cells. Then, these bounties are at least tens of millions of prisoners who are unlucky. In the Crimson Hell on the basement level, a large number of prisoners were torn apart by the barbed, sharp sword tree like steel, or they just accidentally stabbed their vital organs. Eyes? temples, brain, throat, heart, lungs, spleen. If it wasn't for the middle of the night, most of the prison staff would have already rested. The shocking death methods and the extremely unusual death rate were enough to alarm the prison guards. The second-floor Warcraft Hell. A large number of prisoners were unfortunately devoured by those beasts. Or hit the iron gate or the wall, and fall to the head and blood. Fortunately, there is diarrhea, dizziness and so on. The third-floor Starvation Hell. Countless prisoners died of thirst, starvation, and heat. Master Wilhelm, is that enough? Baccarat, who was extremely hot, looked at Wilhelm who was sitting there with eyes closed and meditating, practicing observation haki, and asked there. Is not enough, far from enough. Opening his eyes, Wilhelm looked dimly. Immediately afterwards, the two figures became transparent again at a speed visible to the naked eye. Swipe. The ability to transfer fruit was activated. The two invisible figures disappeared. He took Bacala to the fourth floor of Blazing Hell. Even with Magellan, the director, personally sitting on this floor. However, because of the side effects of paramecia poisonous fruit, he has diarrhea most of the time, and he only works for less than 4 hours a day. In the too comfortable Impel down, it is impossible for him to turn on observation haki all the time. Not to mention, it was still late at night, and Magellan had already rested. The invisible Wilhelm and Bacala didn't attract anyone's attention at all. Ah. How is this going? Damn it. How unlucky. My head, blood, is bleeding. Damn it. What's going on? Who is plotting against me? But resting on the fourth floor, Magellan, who was already sound asleep, was soon startled by the sudden commotion. Countless prisoners cried for their fathers and mothers with diarrhea, vomiting, and headaches. Or hit your head and bleed. Many prisoners died directly in strange ways. He had to check for himself what went wrong, but nothing was found. Damn it. Monitoring room, what happened? Magellan's face was livid. Holding the phone bug who was wearing a gas mask so as not to be affected by his poisonous body, he contacted the person in charge of the 14-hour surveillance in the monitoring room. Why did such a riot suddenly happen? In the monitoring room, the drowsy prison guard suddenly sweated profusely. After repeated investigations and monitoring, he responded through the phone bug, Director, I didn't find any raw at all. These prisoners seem to be unlucky all of a sudden, and there are some inexplicable deaths and injuries. Deeply disturbed, Magellan could only order. Let the prison staff who had already rested be on standby immediately to closely guard the prisoners in those cells. All staff are on duty to guard against other situations. And myself, personally went to the 6th floor Eternal Hell to sit in the town, just in case. But what he didn't expect was, Eternal Hell has already had a huge commotion. Some relatively powerful prisoners who were not asleep had already sensed the arrival of Wilhelm and Bacala by virtue of their powerful observation haki. But before they had time to react, they were touched by Bacala one by one, and then they could no longer feel the breath of Wilhelm and Bacala, as if they were in a dream. Immediately afterwards, within the entire Eternal Hell, a prisoner began all kinds of fancy bad luck. Even those death row prisoners who were imprisoned in ice and hadn't died inexplicably. Kong bang dang dang. Damn it. What the hell is going on here? Suddenly my stomach hurts. That idiot was actually strangled to death by the chains on his body. Lousy died laughing. Ah, Lousy died of pain. And in the 5th floor freezing hell, Wilhelm sat alone in the ice and snow, completely releasing his observation haki. Along with Bacala, who was draped in several large cotton-padded jackets, curled up there, gathered the huge luck in her body, and made a wish there with all her concentration. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Wilhelm sat there, covered in snow and ice, as motionless as a sculpture. Boom. A kind of mysterious, incomparably carefree feeling gushes out inexplicably, making his observation haki feel like piercing through a layer of barriers and seeing the sun through the clouds. The scope of observation haki, which was already exaggerated, has expanded to more than several times. The entire Impel down, together with the surrounding sea area, from the giant sea kings hundreds of meters long to the tiny insects, everything is presented in Wilhelm's heart like a black and white three-dimensional pattern. It doesn't even matter if it's the prisoners, the prison guards, or even the emotions of those prisoner beasts, sea kings and other creatures, or even their voices. Wilhelm could do it all. Hear clearly, feel. Ah, damn it, I don't want to die. 10th mile a surviving prisoner in Crimson Hell. Pongchi. Pongchi. Ramen. Ramen. 2nd floor a Warcraft Hell. Damn it. When will this dark day end? 4th floor, a surviving prisoner in blazing hell. Don't let Lousy have a chance to go out, otherwise this sea will be turned upside down. 6th floor, a surviving prisoner in eternal hell. Director Magellan is really serious, he doesn't allow people to rest at night, and he insists on calling us on alert. The 1st floor, a prison guard in crimson hell. Impel down is so heavily guarded, except for the last time the warden Shiryu, who was an insider, rebelled, who can sneak in or escape directly. 4th Kong, blazing hell, a prison. Damn Magellan, the last time Shiryu of the Rain caused such a big commotion, the higher-ups didn't demote him. When can I replace him and become the director? The 1st floor, crimson hell, Impel down, agent warden Hanayabao. Trouble. I feel a little sick to my stomach again. What is going on with today's riots? Did someone really invade? Director Magellan of the 6th floor, eternal hell? Impel down. God. Please bless Master Wilhelm to be successful. It's really cold here. Even if you wrap a few cotton coats, you still feel shivering. 5th floor, freezing hell, Baccarat. Countless voices, filled with countless emotions, entered Wilhelm's mind. Ferocity, violence, irritability, arrogance, madness, bloodthirsty, pain, despair, unwillingness. All kinds of complicated emotions did not make him suffer unbearably. On the contrary, the exaggerated brain computing power can fully receive, analyze, and process the information that is constantly pouring in. No, that's not just a sound. Inside freezing hell, a snow mound several meters high suddenly exploded. Wilhelm, whose whole body had been buried in ice and snow, opened his eyes. Master Wilhelm, have you succeeded? Baccarat, whose face was pale with cold, was taken aback, but was soon overjoyed, and asked nervously and apprehensively. Don't fail, I want to be useful to Master Wilhelm. Okay. His eyes are awe-inspiring and extremely sharp. Baccarat's pupils shrank sharply, and she subconsciously dared not look directly. Because, he was sure that many people hadn't spoken at all just now, and even what Baccarat said now was somewhat different from what he heard with observation haki. Then, there is only one possibility. What he heard was the voices of these creatures. Master Wilhelm. Inside the world of ice and snow. Seeing Wilhelm standing tall and shaking off his snow and ice, he didn't say a word. Baccarat, whose pretty face was a little pale from the cold, was full of apprehension, and called out cautiously. I'm afraid that this adult will be in a bad mood because he failed to break through observation haki, and blame himself. Little fool, manpower is exhausted, how could I blame you for such a thing? Wilhelm stared at Baccarat as if feeling something. He hugged her, who was shivering from the cold, wrapped up like a rice dumpling, and touched her pretty pale face, with a gentle voice. You are my most important, lucky girl. In a split second, he thought about it. With that terrifying observation haki, the ability to transfer fruit was activated. The two had already left the freezing hell on the 5th floor, and came to the lobby on the 5.5th floor that he had taken for himself before. Master Wilhelm. Baccarat, who felt a blur in front of her eyes, had red eyes and was full of excitement. Don't worry, Baccarat, you have to have confidence in your abilities. Wilhelm smiled, and untied the thick cotton coats for Baccarat. My observation haki has indeed made a great breakthrough, and I have to thank you. Briefly predict the future or something. He was sure he didn't have that power. But he never expected that after his observation haki broke through, he can actually listen to the voices of others directly like observation haki, who was born and possessed by Red Earl Redfield. Really? That would be great. Baccarat's eyes lit up. The little face is full of joy, a little excited. Well, although your ability is not invincible, but for a person with high talent and savvy, that trace of luck may bring an unimaginable breakthrough opportunity. Wilhelm touched her little head, smiled and said, of course, this method is not a panacea, only when one's haki reaches the limit of the bottleneck, and one must have extremely high talent, understanding, and potential, all of which are indispensable. In other words, you must have the possibility of such a breakthrough. For example, even without your help, I will be able to do this kind of thing sooner or later, but it may take a year, 2 years, 5 years, or even longer. Baccarat suddenly realized, it turns out that it is like this. She couldn't help being a little disappointed. She thought that her lucky fruit ability could really do such an exaggerated thing. Don't think it's so beautiful, any devil fruit's ability can't be perfect. Wilhelm tapped Baccarat's little head. In this way, wouldn't it be possible for Garrett, Armand, Sneyman, Custard, and other people whose talents are not as good as those of Yamato and Hancock, to break through their own limits? How can there be such a beautiful thing? Moreover, in order for him to rely on that mysterious and illusory luck to seize the slightest opportunity and make a breakthrough ahead of time. How much did it cost? Overnight, at least half of the prisoners in Impel Down died. Such confusion. Close your eyes and know how much headache Magellan, the administrator, will have next. However, this is enough, Wilhelm said with a smile. Moreover, Wilhelm is convinced that his observation haki after breakthrough is really not weaker than Red Earl Rider's innate sense of knowledge, and even stronger. Not only can you listen to the voices of others, but you can also read other people's memories. Just now, he had confirmed it with Bacala as a guinea pig. He had already read the memory of this little girl quietly. Although not very skilled, but not too difficult. Not to mention, his exaggerated sensing range is almost comparable to Smoothie's heart network. There is also the special knowledge and knowledge that is different from ordinary people and is almost the same as three-dimensional scanning. These are far from what the Red Earl Rider can compare. Wilhelm believes that this is by no means his limit. As long as you persevere in cultivation, research, and development. Sooner or later, the future self will be able to master the power to predict the future. Even one day, the scope of his observation haki might really be able to surpass Xinwang. Wilhelm knew very well that the powerful observation haki in the sea could even hear Liuyan and thunder in the distant sky, and even directly lock onto the meteorite in space. Since the other party can do it, there is no reason why he can't do it. This is the confidence of Wilhelm, who has always been unwavering in himself. Never think of himself as inferior to anyone, whether it's swordsmanship or haki. Master Wilhelm, shall we go back next? Covering his red forehead, he stuck out his tongue. Baccarat looked around curiously, and asked Wilhelm. I wanted to leave directly, but I changed my mind. Wilhelm smiled slightly. Has the ability to read the memories of others. And it happened to be in Impel Down, a large deep-sea prison where a large number of heinous criminals were imprisoned. How could he miss such an opportunity? Well, what a gain. There are countless pirates imprisoned here. In Bacala's puzzled eyes. Wilhelm touched her head, and said with a smile, as for those pirates, most of the treasures that are raided on weekdays will not be stored in the bank except for the part left on the ship, but buried somewhere in the sea. All right, Zhao, place. Using my breakthrough to knowledge, I can completely dig out the treasures in their minds. Also, it just so happens that these guys have no future to talk about being imprisoned here, so they might as well use their remaining luck to fulfill me. For Wilhelm. Those pirates who survived, except for the treasures they might have in their minds. Their luck, every day is also a very considerable amount of leaks. It would be a pity not to harvest. Even if he couldn't let his conqueror's haki break through to a higher level again. But if Bacala is allowed to follow, their luck absorbed. If he makes a wish to assist in his cultivation, at least his knowledge, conquerors, and armed colors will be more concise and stronger, and his swordsmanship may also be improved to a higher level. After using the special anti-tapping phone bug, they contacted Armand and others far away on Sky Island. Wilhelm and Baccarat stayed directly in Impel Down, let her devour the luck of a large number of prisoners every day, and made a strong wish in her heart. As for the bizarre deaths one after another, no clues were found at all, and no prisoner escaped from prison. Let this world's largest deep-sea prison be enveloped in an unusually gloomy and terrifying atmosphere. And not just the prisoners. Even the prison guards couldn't help feeling terrified. Some people say that these are prisoners who died in Impel Down, looking for scapegoats so that their souls can ascend to heaven smoothly. Some people also said that this is the revenge of the people who were killed by those pirates. Otherwise, why did the accident happen to all the prisoners, but not any prison staff? All in all, after a rigorous investigation, there is really no clue that it can happen, not even the slightest sign of man-made. Those prisoners either died due to various weird accidents, or they were half dead due to kinds of bad luck every 2 days. Even Magellan, the director of Impel Down, had to believe it. But he never expected it. Inside the freezing hell on the 5th floor. There were actually intruders who stayed there to practice. Slash wave. Boom. A dazzling slash came out violently. The sky is filled with smoke and dust, and a large amount of ice and snow is raging along with exaggerated airwaves. The ground in front was directly torn apart ruthlessly, leaving shocking cracks. Holding the gorgeous cluster of cloud teeth, Wilhelm's silver hair fluttered, and his handsome figure stood there, like an unsheathed sword, extremely sharp. What he just displayed was the Golden Lion's sword skill. After resurrecting, the flying pirate with the ability of the rat fruit, phantom beast, and weasel. He has already obtained the Golden Lion's swordsmanship and even the insights and skills about haki from Kama Itachi. With his talent, comprehension and his own strong strength, he can easily master the opponent's swordsmanship. Shimotsuki flow I cut. Next moment. His eyes were awe-inspiring, and his momentum kept rising. Kong Yunya, who had returned to the sheath, suddenly turned into a dazzling cold light. The terrifying sword slash was as fast as thunder and lightning. With lightning speed, a huge ice prison was torn apart. It is the swordsmanship of the former dragon-slaying warrior, Shimotsuki Ryoma. It is rumored that no matter what kind of enemy the sword hero Ryoma encounters, he can cut down the enemy in a flash and end the battle easily. His sword-drawing skills have already reached the pinnacle, approaching the ultimate level, making it impossible to guard against. Often the opponent has not reacted, and the head has already fallen to the ground. Slaying the flying dragon above the flower city of Wano-kuni was just one of the insignificant deeds of that great swordsman. His legendary deeds that really made this sea a sensation is that he prevented the world government and countless pirates from invading Wano-kuni, which was still the country of gold at the time, and let the whole world know that Wano-kuni has samurai. After his death, Wano-kuni was worshipped as the god of swords from top to bottom, and was enshrined in the ancestral temple of the northern cemetery of Linga together with his saber Chusui. Such a great swordsman who was famous in the past and is still famous hundreds of years after his death, the swordsmanship created and honed by his life's hard work is immeasurable. Boom. Oden dual swordsmanship Togen Shirataki. The extremely blazing huge slash directly tore the iceberg in front of it into two halves. It slowly slid down there, roaring endlessly. Kazuki Oden, heir of the Wano-kuni Kazuki clan. He is born extraordinary, and his sword skills are extremely high. After returning from the sea with the Whitebeard pirates and Roger pirates, he has become a veritable swordsman. Oden with two swords in one hand, monsters like Kaido of the Beasts, are left with permanent scars if they are careless. Not to mention this person's character, experience or something. Its extraordinary swordsmanship alone is worth learning and learning from Wilhelm. One sword style flying dragon, roar. A huge flying dragon, extremely ferocious, roared out. Boom. That mighty dragon-shaped slash ripped apart the ground like a rotten dragon. A shocking giant pit was left there. This seems to be the swordsmanship created by Wilhelm himself in the past. Today, for Wilhelm, who has already reached a very high level of swordsmanship, unleash such an astonishingly powerful and not weak slash. It's been effortless. Swoosh, boom 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 boom. In the world of ice and snow, the slash is dazzling, and countless sword chi are vertical and horizontal. The wind raged, ice and snow splashed everywhere, and loud noises continued. Although Wilhelm also took this opportunity to guide Bakula to practice. But she was not allowed to stay in the freezing hell on the 5th floor at all, but let the girl stay in the 5.5th floor to practice by herself. Otherwise, he was worried that he would accidentally affect the other party, so he couldn't let go. The following days, Wilhelm concentrated on practicing in freezing hell. In addition to reading the memories of those prisoners and drawing treasure maps. There is also the ability to use the Paramecia transparent fruit of the 10 rings, every day, and take Bakula to absorb the luck of those inner independence. Or, rehearsing Golden Lion's two-sword swordsmanship, Kazuki Oden's Oden two-sword swordsmanship, Shimotsuki Ryoma's Shimotsuki-style swordsmanship, and the one-handed swordsmanship that he created himself. Or, it is to combine the skills and experience of Conqueror's haki with real monsters such as Dragon Warrior, Kazuki Oden, Buddha Sengoku, Golden Lion Shiki, etc., to confirm each other. Keep honing your Conqueror's haki. Or, just sit withered in the ice and snow. Hold the gorgeous Kong Yunya, let your mind empty there, and meditate with your eyes closed. This method is also called knife zen. Time goes by, day after day of practice. Relying on its own amazing talent and understanding, Wilhelm combined the swordsmanship of Golden Lion, Kazuki Oden, and Shimotsuki Ryoma into one body, absorbing their essence and profound meaning into his own swordsmanship. The whole person is like a treasured knife out of its sheath, extremely sharp and extremely powerful. The terrifyingly sharp eyes that seem to be able to see everything, without any secrets to hide, make Bakura's heart tremble. 3 months passed by in a hurry. Because of the defeat of the expeditionary fleet, the situation in the sea is out of control. Every day, a large number of unwilling people go out to sea and join the pirates. Whether it is the 4 seas or the Grand Line, countless pirates make trouble everywhere every day. Almost every day, a large number of prisoners were sent in one after another. Originally, Impel Down, which was overcrowded, became empty. Almost few of them survived. Phew. Master Wilhelm, we have to leave. Inside the icy freezing hell. A tall, slender figure with red curly hair and a thick cotton coat, whose figure was invisible but beautiful, waved his hands there. These days, she has not been idle, except that she needs to absorb the luck of those prisoners to pray and make a wish for Lord Wilhelm. He is also undergoing special training, not to mention strength, at least his physical fitness is much stronger than before. However, at her urging, Wilhelm uses ripe fruit's ability. Let her grow 10 years old, and turn Bacala into a 20-year-old appearance. Then, the little girl who was originally impure. In the same day, he completely transformed into Wilhelm's shape. Okay. Empty his mind, holding Kong Yunya, sitting there for an unknown amount of time, Wilhelm, who let the ice and snow cover him, slowly opened his eyes. Woohoo, a breath so sharp that people dare not look directly scattered countless ice and snow. Hey! A dark blue light flashed past. Bacala, who was running excitedly, couldn't help but stop. The strong light made her subconsciously cover her eyes with her right hand and narrow her eyes. Boom. I saw the gorgeous cluster of cloud teeth, soft and hard, waving past lightly. Accompanied by the huge dark blue slash, it pierced through the atmosphere in front of it, rolling past wildly. The indestructible ice prisons, which had already been frozen by ice and snow, were easily torn apart like tofu. Look around. There are hundreds of ice prisons in the entire 5th floor. Together with Wilhelm's ability to use lion fruit to condense in order to practice swordsmanship and haki before, the huge iceberg, which is hundreds of meters high and stretches for several kilometers, was split in two like a shattered iceberg. It's outrageously exaggerated. Rumble. Woo-hoo-hoo. The loud noise shook the sky, and the smoke and dust filled the air. Huge icebergs, torn apart and crumbled. Small scoops of crushed ice aroused the wind and snow all over the sky, spreading and raging there. What happened? Gollum, is there an earthquake? How could this happen? Impel Down has been established for hundreds of years, but nothing like this has ever happened. Not only the freezing hell, but the entire Impel Down trembled violently. The surviving prisoners and a large number of prison personnel were instantly alarmed. They thought it was a strong earthquake, which directly caused a huge panic. Quite a number of prison guards changed their complexions drastically, broke out in cold sweat, and yelled in panic. Even Magellan couldn't help but change his face, full of solemnity. Some are in doubt. Hiss, it's too powerful. Looking at the exaggerated scene, Bacala opened her mouth involuntarily, her pretty face was full of disbelief. Just a light swing of the knife can create such an extremely shocking scene, which is simply terrifying. As expected of her most admired and admired Master Wilhelm. It's just too powerful. Ah, the gorgeous blade sheathed. As if just doing a trivial thing. Wilhelm's expression was calm, without any complacency. In 3 months, his incomparably sharp and frightening edge has completely converged. The whole person is like returning to the original, like a peerless sword in its sheath. Once out of the sheath, it will change color in front of the world. Relying on its own extraordinary talent and understanding. He has mastered Golden Lion's dual sword style, Kazuki Oden's dual sword style, Shimotsuki Ryoma's Shimotsuki style and other swordsmanship. Get rid of the dross, absorb the essence and mystery, perfectly integrate into the Yidao style swordsmanship created by myself, and perfect the swordsmanship genre created by myself. His swordsmanship has reached its peak, and he has truly stepped into the realm of a great swordsman. Even an understatement of swinging a knife can cut mountains and seas, and its power is unimaginable. Brush. The figure of Gao Dangwei stood up calmly. Compared to a few months ago, he is now closer to 2.7 meters. It is conceivable that when he truly becomes an adult, his height will not be less than 3 meters. In the past 3 months, he has completely mastered the return of life and can use it as he wants, allowing him to freely adjust his height and body shape. As long as he wants to, he only needs to inject consciousness into the whole body, control every muscle, organ and even bone in himself, and even greatly compress their density. It is not a problem to directly become about 1.8 meters tall, the same height as ordinary people. Wow, Master Wilhelm, you are really getting more and more handsome. Baccarat rushed over, boldly hugging Wilhelm. Some weak-colored skin, but it does not affect its beauty at all. With a sweet smile on his face, looking up at Wilhelm's handsome face, he opened his mouth with a smile. His eyes were full of indescribable infatuation, and he made no secret of his love. She has already fallen under the incomparable charm of this man with all her heart. Let's go, it's time to leave. The long silver hair fluttered, and there was a slight smile on the handsome face, which made Bakula reluctant to look away. Otherwise, the girls Yamato and Garrett will rebel. 3 months. Let those girls who are full of expectations and want to travel around the world stay on Sky Island. It's really hard for them. Hee, they will be envious of me for being able to possess Master Wilhelm alone for so long. With a happy and satisfied smile on her face, Bakura looked radiant and charming. Such a perfect man is destined not to belong to any woman. But she was able to spend 3 months alone with this lord. Even though Wilhelm spent most of his time practicing, this already made Bakura extremely satisfied. Look at what you're proud of, don't irritate us when you go back. The observation haki, who can listen to the voices of others, has a clear view of Bakula's heart. Pinching her little Chong's nose, Wilhelm has never been stingy with his love for this kind of knowledgeable woman. You know, Lord Wilhelm. Bakura clearly enjoyed Wilhelm's intimate gestures. The whole person leaned against Wilhelm's arms, with a sweet smile on his face. Then leave. Wilhelm hugged her. Disappeared in Impel down in an instant. At the same time as they disappeared, there was another suitcase. Except for a few good devil fruits inside. There are also treasures dug out from the minds of those prisoners. It was drawn as a treasure map by Wilhelm and marked. These pirates come from all over the world, and the places where the treasures are hidden are not limited to the first half of the Grand Line in the New World, but all over the world. Next, when they travel around the sea, they are destined not to be too boring. Brush, outside the deep sea prison. Above the Great Gate of Justice, 2 figures appeared there. In Wilhelm's hand, he was still carrying a black suitcase. With the other hand, she held Bakula, who had thrown away her cotton coat and was wearing a sexy black dress, showing her graceful and infinite figure to the fullest. Ah, it really makes me feel a little bit reluctant. Looking back at the world's largest deep-sea prison, Bakula said with a light smile. To her. Here, full of infinite memories. Including asking this Master Wilhelm himself to let him grow up 10 years old. Then, dedicating herself wholeheartedly to the other party, the indescribable beauty and happiness that seemed to come from the depths of her soul filled her heart all the time. It was full, all in the shape of this adult. There is no room for another man. In the past 3 months, we have gotten along with each other bit by bit. Destined to make Bakula unforgettable. 8. Hateful. Bakura, you're so mean. Taking advantage of the opportunity of being alone with Wilhelm Big Brother, behind our backs, let Wilhelm Big Brother turn you into a year. Ah. What a girl's 18th change, I almost can't recognize it. I have to say, Wilhelm, your vision is really vicious. The little girl I accepted halfway is actually a rare beauty in the world. See Circle Calendar January 3, 1504. Wilhelm took Bakula and returned to Gaia Island. But what greeted them was Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, Prim and the others angrily denouncing them. There are also Olibu, Strong, Sneyman, Custard and other women, and the words are also somewhat meaningful. They were already tired of staying on Sky Island, but in order to wait for Wilhelm who was training in Impel down, they stayed here patiently. And Bakula suddenly turned into a young, beautiful and charming woman. Close your eyes and know what happened between them. I have to wonder, Brother Wilhelm, did you really practice hard in Impel down? Glancing at the sexy and touching Bakura, the 16th girl, Sneyman, with her waist up, looked much taller, but she looked more handsome, mature, and full of infinite charm, which made them feel a little lost. Wilhelm, who was reluctant to look away, said with a half-smile. That's it. Strom, with his arms in his arms, chuckled lightly there. The 3 were gone, she seemed to have lost most of her weight, and she was no longer like before, where she couldn't even see her neck. As the tall figure of the long-legged family, the figure is curvy and plump, and the pretty face without too much fat is not inferior to the 2 sisters, Smoothie and Sneyman. Of course, they were just making fun of it. Because whether it is the 2 sisters, Armand, Custard, or the others, they can fully feel the invisible aura that naturally exudes from the inside out, although it is not deliberately exposed on Wilhelm's body. It made them feel like they were facing their mother Charlotte Linlin. No, even faintly more terrifying, it seems completely different from before. Not bad, with the powerful observation haki, all the women's voices were heard in his heart, and Wilhelm didn't pay much attention to it. Touching the heads of Yamato and Hancock, he said with satisfaction, you guys have become a lot stronger in the past 3 months. What? I saw that the range is quite exaggerated, it is several times wider than when it just broke through 3 months ago, and it is no less than the observation haki of Smoothie's heart network, instantly covering the entire island of gods, Apeado and even the distant of Angel Island. But he couldn't feel the breath of war ghost, Vipa at all. He couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Has that boy Zhongyi started to set off? He went to Qinghai alone 2 months ago. With the cigarette between the index finger and middle finger of her right hand, the fourth girl Yasho lightly flicked the cigarette butt, and said calmly, 5 days ago, we also received a warrant for his arrest, and the Marine offered a reward of 80 million Baileys. The guy called 3 days ago. It is said that the world government intends to invite him to become 7 warlords of the sea. He is going to ask you for instructions, Custard said directly to Wilhelm. 7 warlords of the sea. Wilhelm was a little surprised. Strictly speaking, such a bounty is nothing. But in less than 2 months after going to sea, he received more than 80 million rewards. This is unusual, especially at such a young age. Obviously, the world government has taken a fancy to the future potential of Zahn. It's like the sand crocodile, lock doll who is fledgling but has the ability of Logia sand fruit. In this case, let him agree to come down. Without much thought, Wilhelm shrugged. Currently, their Big Mom pirate group is not short of combat power. Since the world government has brought up the throne of 7 warlords of the sea by itself, it is better to let Wipa pull up 10 pirate groups by himself. Rooted in the wild growth, in the 7 warlords of the sea sequence that is nominally directly under the command of the world government. Okay, I'll notify him later. Armand nodded slightly. Then it's time for us to leave Sky Island. Wilhelm chuckled and said, go to the nearest East Blue first. Master Wilhelm, we have already prepared all the supplies we need. Alib, the maid, smiled and said, I'll just wait for you to come back. Are you leaving? Very good. I can't wait. Although Sky Island is good, but after staying for 3 months, no matter how beautiful the scenery is, it has lost its original astonishment. Seeing that Wilhelm doesn't intend to stay on Sky Island anymore, Yamato, Garrett, Prim, and Hancock all said happily. In that case, let's go. Wilhelm nodded with a smile. As he said that, he looked at Bonfire and the chief of the Sandia clan who came to hear the news, named by him as the left and right priests, responsible for jointly managing Sky Island. It's been a while, thank you for your hard work. Where? This is what we should do. Gonfal bowed deeply, with awe, and said seriously there. Over the past few months, his unyielding will has already been disintegrated. In particular, every time he saw Wilhelm, the aura that seemed to come from his bones, which made people unable to help but tremble, made him fearful, timid, and uneasy. I didn't dare to have any more thoughts. It's just a little thing. The patriarch of the Sandia tribe looked respectful, with indescribable gratitude and respect, and said sincerely, as long as you need it, Mr. Wilhelm, our Sandia tribe is willing to go through fire and water. For the Shandia, it was Wilhelm who gave them new life. It allowed them to return to their homeland where they had been forced to leave for hundreds of years, and even rang the golden bell of the past, fulfilling the promise of their ancestors, great warriors, Karl Guerra and Nolando. When the old promise is completed, that golden bell is already dispensable to their Sandia tribe. Therefore, although Wilhelm and others took away the golden bell, the Sandia family did not have any dissatisfaction. On the contrary, they are able to return to their homeland and enjoy peace instead of going through war, and they are only deeply grateful to Wilhelm. Wilhelm nodded slightly and said nothing more. In an instant, relying on the powerful observation haki induction, it crossed the Bai Sea at an altitude of 10,000 meters above sea level and the Bai Sea at an altitude of 7,000 meters, and sensed Gaia Island below. He directly activates the ability to transfer the fruit. In the shocking and inexplicable eyes of the Sandia tribe, Gonfure and others. Not only he, Yamato, Hancock, Armand, Custard and others, together with the huge ark behind him, disappeared in an instant on the island of gods, Apeado, located at an altitude of 10,000 meters. A week later, known as the weakest East Blue in the world, a huge ark descended on the kingdom of Oikot, not far from Calm Belt. But at this moment, there has just been a war here, and the smoke is filled. There are dilapidated walls and charred building wreckage everywhere, full of traces of war. There were corpses strewn about everywhere. There are pirates and marines. More are the corpses of civilians. Tisk tisk, it looks like this country has just been attacked by pirates. Strawn, who was sitting on the side of the boat, said slowly there. It looks like Marine should win. However, although Marine won, it can only be regarded as a miserable victory. And Armand, Sneyman and other women also had calm faces without any fluctuations. This kind of thing has long been commonplace for them, especially since they have lived in the Big Mom pirates as pirates since they were young. They don't have any compassion. In particular, the four seas in the Grand Line are in unprecedented turmoil. The cause, strictly speaking, is their Big Mom pirate group. Naval headquarters mobilized tens of thousands of elites from the Grand Line to attack the Big Mom pirates with great fanfare. As a result, the expedition fleet was almost wiped out, and even Sengoku, the Buddha of Admiral of Headquarters who was the only one who was struggling to support the marine facade, was sacrificed. The impact of this defeat is unprecedented. It is far better than when the One Piece King Roger kicked off the era of great pirates with his own death. Let countless ambitious and restless guys. There are also those low-level people who are oppressed by the world government and the royal families and nobles of various countries, and can no longer bear it. Seeing clearly the reality of marine and world government, they are nothing more than strong outside but capable inside. Or, get together and rise up. Either scramble to go to sea and become pirates. Even East Blue, known as the weakest, and a symbol of peace, is no exception. The pirates who are making trouble everywhere have been dispatched by naval headquarters, and the major branches stationed in East Blue are stretched and there is no time to support them. The kingdom of Oikot, which was invaded by pirates and almost perished, is just an ordinary example. There are still people, it's a little girl. At this time, the proverbs of the ark came to the sky above the smoky and dilapidated city. And Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, Bacala, Prim, Armand, Custard, and the others quickly spotted the thin figure hiding behind a broken wall below. What shocked them was that this little girl, who was at most 2 or 3 years old at most, was holding a smaller baby in her arms. Wow wow wow. The baby was crying there. And the little girl who had already discovered the ark, holding the baby in her arms, looked at the huge black shadow coming across the sky with some fear. Dirty little face, a little pale, uneasy. Brush. A silver-white figure flashed past. Wilhelm's handsome and tall figure appeared in front of the little girl. It made her eyes widen, and she was a little stunned, unable to believe it. Is it a homeless kid affected by the flames of war? Wilhelm touched her head and asked calmly, "Will you follow me?" Okay. Nuo Kagao was a little dazed, but soon, subconsciously nodded heavily. My name is Nuo Kagao, her name is Nami. Nuo Kagao, who was less than 3 years old, looked up at the handsome Wilhelm in front of him, showed an innocent smile, and said crisply, "Big brother, you look so good." Yes? Wilhelm smiled slightly. He hugged her together with the baby girl in his arms. And at this time, the baby girl who was crying nonstop also laughed happily. Giggle. Look, big brother, Nami is smiling. Nuo Kagao couldn't help but said happily when he found that Nami was no longer crying. Well, big brother saw it. Wilhelm touched Nuo Kagao's little head. In a flash, he took her and Nami back to the ark in the air. He didn't come to Oikot Kingdom on purpose, but just passing by. But relying on that increasingly powerful observation haki, which is already comparable to Sneeman's heart network, which was born from observation haki combined with the ability of Logia Thunderfruit, the coverage of observation haki is unbelievably large. He has already discovered it hundreds of miles away. The existence of these two girls. Even, almost judged the identity of the other party. Therefore, the route of the ark was changed, and it came to the kingdom of Oikot. What surprised him was that the trajectory of his fate had changed quite a bit because of himself as a butterfly. At this time, the kingdom of Oikot, which should have been destroyed, was only now attacked by pirates, and the two sisters Nokigao and Nami, who should have been adopted by Belle-Mel as Marine, met again at this time. Ked him. Although, he originally wanted to go to that Kokoja village to find these two girls. Previously in the deep sea prison Impel down, Baccarat's strong demands made his original cultivation plan fail. This time, it won't fail again, right? So cute. Wilhelm big brother, do you want to adopt them? See Wilhelm return to the ark with 2 or 3-year-old Nagi and the younger baby in her arms. Yamato, Hancock, and Garrett all came over with their eyes brightened. Look at the kawaii no Kigao and little Nami. Can't help but feel a little happy. I'm not very good at taking care of children. Mise Olive as Wilhelm's handmaiden was a bit of a headache. The little girl who is 2 or 3 years old and looks precocious and cute is okay. But the non-talking baby girl she was holding was a bit of a problem. Naturally, it is impossible for members of the Charlotte family like Armand, Castard, and Sneeman to take care of this kind of thing, let alone little girls like Hancock. Then there is only her, Lord Wilhelm's valet. Breastfeeding, changing diapers, etc. are really a headache. Should I call a nanny? Armand asked after flicking his cigarette butt. Yasho, Strong, Sneeman, Custard and the others couldn't help but glance at each other. They can't even take care of children. It is very good at killing people. Forget it, let me come. Ms. Oliby's eyelids twitched. Master Wilhelm is a member of the Appearance Association, and ordinary nannies don't like it. And if you find a nanny who is too beautiful and capable, wouldn't it be to fight for her job as a maid? Do not be afraid. Wilhelm ignored Ms. Olive's small thoughts at the moment, looked at the somewhat timid Nuokagao, touched her little head, and said with a smile, "From today, we are home." Family? Little Nuoki was stunned, and looked at him puzzled. Immediately, a sweet and happy smile appeared, and he nodded heavily there. Bang bang. 3 days later. Uncharted waters. A pirate ship tens of meters long lay there, filled with gunpowder smoke. A group of pirates who were usually vicious and murderous without batting an eyelid kept screaming there, full of panic and despair. Because, what they were facing was a few women who were too beautiful and too strong. And above their pirate ship, there is even a huge ark lying horizontally, just suspended in the sky like this. It was inexplicably shocking. The strength of pirates is called the weakest in the 4 seas, and the rewards of pirates rarely exceed tens of millions of East Blue. With the strength of Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, Prim, and Bakara, who have been trained by Wilhelm and trained strictly, they can easily deal with any pirates. Brush. Above the ark, the silver-white figure stood on the bow of the ship, looking down at the battle below. A thought captured the navigator on the pirate ship in his hand. Ah! The navigator holding a firecracker, the moment he saw Wilhelm, his legs became weak with fright. Inexplicably frightened, shivering, and sweating coldly. To his surprise, he found that he couldn't muster up any courage to fire at him. It's like a stinky mouse in the ditch, facing the predator standing at the top of the food chain. Wilhelm looked indifferent. He raised his right hand and pressed it on the navigator's head. The extremely tyrannical observation haki, who can listen to the heart, directly read the other party's memory. Sixies. Wilhelm muttered there. In an instant, holding the opponent's collar, he released his raised left hand, and the pirate fell straight into the sea. What's wrong? Wilhelm. Armand asked curiously. Is there anything on that island? Sneyman, Snag, and Custard, who were teasing little Nuokagao and little Nami, couldn't help looking over. Well, there's a treasure map about it. Wilhelm nodded without hiding anything. He took out a treasure map from his pocket. But the above pattern is very simple, only the general outline of an island, and then marked with an X at a certain position. This is a secret he dug out from a pirate's mind when he was writing Impel down, and specially drew a rough treasure map based on the other's memory. A big pirate, who ran from East Blue to Grand Line and made a name for himself with a bounty of less than 100 million Baileys. Before entering the Grand Line, he hid all the treasures of his first half of his life there. As a result, he was caught by Marine and imprisoned in the deep-sea prison. Although he knew very well that the future Firefist ace was on that island and got the Logia Mera Mera fruit. But it is very likely that it came with the waves. At this time, the Logia Mera Mera fruit may not be really there. Sometimes, many strong people become ability users because of inexplicable coincidences. One has to wonder whether devil fruit really has consciousness and is choosing its own master. Yes. The fourth girl, Yasho, laughed softly. That's a bit exciting. On the pirate ship below, there is a devil fruit. Putting away the treasure map, turning his head to look at Strawn, Sneyman, Olive, Custard and other girls, Wilhelm smiled and said, if nothing else, it's Paramecia slippery fruit. That being said, he didn't intend to directly transfer the devil fruit up. For Hancock and the others, after defeating the enemy from the enemy ship, it is also very important to seize the treasure of the opponent. The joy of unraveling the mystery and seizing the treasure from the enemy ship is like digging out the treasure hidden in a certain place with the help of a treasure map. The full excitement, joy and sense of accomplishment are indescribable. Wilhelm didn't want to simply deprive them of their happiness, so he tried not to interfere. Oh? Slippery fruit? When the girls heard the words, their eyes lit up. Gaia had heard from Wilhelm a long time ago that, apart from Hancock's Paramecia linlianguo, it can make people possess infinite charm. There are other devil fruits, which can make people have peerless beauty. Paramecia smooth fruit is one of them. If any of you are interested, I can help you change your own abilities, Wilhelm said with a light smile as he stepped forward to hug the cute little Nuokagao. For most women, this devil fruit has a great allure. But in the Charlotte family, these women were selected by Wilhelm. Obviously no ordinary woman. Armand shook his head. As for Yasho, Sneyman, and Custard, I have always had enough confidence in my own beauty, and I don't need any paramecia slippery fruit at all. Even Mies Olive, Wilhelm's handmaiden, is no exception. Compared with the icing on the cake that can only add a little charm to them, paramecia slippery fruit, what really attracts them is the phantom beast vampire form ability of the bat fruit that Wilhelm has collected. That is the power that can keep people young forever, and even very likely to obtain eternal life. But that devil fruit Wilhelm obviously has other uses. They could only suppress the blazing heat. At the beginning, I was still a little emotional, but now it's fine. Strong, tall and plump, shrugged. After these days of slimming, she has achieved great results, and she has a plump beauty that is no less than that of smoothie and strong. Even Wilhelm has to admit that the fat sister among the 3 long-legged sisters is really an underestimated potential stock. In addition, he has already begun to practice life return. Strong is becoming more and more confident about his appearance and figure. After all, he was reluctant to give up the ability of that paramecia tiao fruit. After all, in the final analysis, paramecia wawagwo is really just to increase the beauty. Although it can't be said that real fighting is completely useless, it is expected that the improvement of one's own strength will not be too high. She didn't want to just be reduced to an empty and beautiful vase. Speaking of which, those sea kings tamed by that girl Prim have brought us many surprises in the past 3 months. Putting little Nuoki on his shoulders, letting her sit there happily and looking out, Wilhelm smiled and said, I heard from Smoothie that these sea kings texts have successively obtained several evil fruits for us. I have to say trust. As Prim, the man-made ancient weapon, conquered the Sea King's army, it grew stronger and stronger. The returns received by the Big Mom pirates are getting more and more amazing. Among the few devil fruits, there were also 1 or 2 of good quality. It is really surprising that there is actually a dragon fruit ancient species Mosasaurus form ability. Roar, Wilhelm big brother, my lord. A pink dragon soars into the sky. Flew up with a lot of treasure. Hancock, Bacala, Garrett, Prim and the others all sat on its back. Facing the gigantic monster with exaggerated size, the young Nuoki Gao grabbed Wilhelm's hair in fright. In Nuo Chigao's eyes full of fear and surprise, the peach-colored dragon reverted to Yamato's form. We have a big harvest. Whether it is Yamato, or Hancock, Bacala, Garrett and others, they are all full of joy and some indescribable excitement. Is it devil fruit? Wilhelm chuckled. But they didn't hit them, and praised them there. Good job. Hateful. Nothing can be hidden from you, Wilhelm big brother. It's not fun at all. Although Yamato, Hancock, Garrett, Hancock, and Bakara were a little happy to get Wilhelm's praise, they still couldn't help being a little disappointed. Because, the observation haki of this Wilhelm big brother, adult is too exaggerated, as if he is omnipotent, and he can't hide anything from the other party. Prim is holding a pink, peach-shaped devil fruit with strange patterns. Like offering a treasure, it was handed to Wilhelm. Allah, is this the slippery fruit? Sneyman laughed and looked at it curiously. Slippery fruit? Hancock blinked her jewel-like eyes. Eyes darting, full of fascination looking at Wilhelm, with indescribable admiration. Master Wilhelm, do you already know what ability it is? It can make people's skin extremely smooth, even if it is cut by a sword or shot by a bullet, it will be easily slipped away. Weighing the paramecia slippery fruit, Wilhelm said, it can also make people radiant, even the ugly woman can become a peerless beauty. Can someone become a peerless beauty? Except for Yamato, who has a carefree personality and is influenced by the aftermath of worshipping Kazuki Odin, and often wants to become a man. Garrett, Hancock, Bacala, Prim and the others couldn't help but their eyes lit up. However, you don't need. Seeing Hancock, Garrett, Prim and others with shining eyes, Wilhelm touched their heads and said with a smile, in my eyes, you are already rare beauties in the world. Really? Very good. After a few days. The huge ark landed on the island of Sixus. This is an island that is considered beautiful, but extremely dangerous. As far as the eye can see, in the distance of the flat shallow sea shining with emerald green, there is a special current nearby, and any object that approaches will be dragged into the direction of the island, making it impossible to escape. Okay. Wilhelm big brother, you are not allowed to reveal any information about the treasure. Yes, Wilhelm, your ability is too powerful. Announce it all at once, so there will be no fun of treasure hunting. With the ark on, one after another figures jumped down from above. Whether it's Garrett, Hancock, Armand, Custard, or the others. They immediately refused to disclose any information to Wilhelm. You have to go to the island to find the treasure map by yourself. Armand spread his hands. No way, Wilhelm, your pervasive observation haki is simply too exaggerated. Custard also nodded approvingly there. Let's not talk about treasures. No matter where the devil fruit is buried on this island, it probably won't escape his scan. The plump Strong put his arms in his arms and said with a smile, if the answer to the mystery is revealed, it will be boring. Well, Wilhelm smiled lightly. Do whatever you want. On his hand, an orange-red light flashed. An orange-red devil fruit with a shape like a spherical dragon fruit and a flame-like convex pattern appeared. Instantly attracted everyone's attention. Armand. Custard. Sneyman. Looking at Wilhelm, all the girls were speechless. And the little girls glared at Wilhelm dissatisfied. Prim and Garrett glared at Wilhelm angrily, and said angrily, Wilhelm big brother, you will have no friends if you do this. And Armand, Sneyman, Olive, Custard and the others all stared at Wilhelm without speaking. The meaning is self-evident. Wilhelm obviously didn't expect that. A sentence he said casually, was learned by these two girls to say about himself. Some can't laugh or cry. Don't look at me like that. Even without the observation haki who can listen to the voice of the heart, Wilhelm knows all the women in clearly. At the moment, he spread his hands there, and explained with a light smile. This is only found on this island, not the treasure you are looking for. It turned out to be like this. Everyone couldn't help but relax. They thought that the other party directly transferred the devil fruit from the treasure too much. Treasure hunting is no fun that way. For a while, everyone was a little curious. Looking at the devil fruit in Wilhelm's hand, Custard raised his eyebrows and asked, I don't know what kind of ability it is. She knew that Wilhelm had a near photographic memory, and had already memorized the ability on the devil fruit illustrated book. If he has the ability to record, it is impossible for this younger brother not to know him. Logia Mera Mera fruit. Wilhelm tossed the orange-red dragon fruit with flame-like protruding patterns, and chuckled, it looks like we're lucky. Logia Mera Mera fruit? Is it the rarest Logia among the 3 lines of devil fruit? Mera Mera fruit, it should be manipulating flames, right? It's somewhat similar to Sister Armin's ability. Armand, Olive, Sneyman, Strong, Custard, and the others were all a little surprised. I didn't expect to find such an amazing ability by just boarding an island to hunt for treasure. Of course, Wilhelm wouldn't tell them. He came here himself, and he also has the idea of wanting to find this Logia Mera Mera fruit. Sister Armand, if you want, I can replace that Paramecia ignition fruit for you. Wilhelm said directly to Armand. He has always been generous to the real own people. It's just a Logia Mera Mera fruit, nothing to be reluctant about. With more and more devil fruit abilities collected, Wilhelm's gaze was no longer limited to Logia's abilities. The choice of 10 rings does not necessarily have to be limited to the abilities of these elements. Forget it, but rarely, Armand shook his head there. For me, having the ability of Paramecia Ignite fruit is enough. If Wilhelm, you don't want to include it in the 10 rings, leave it to the younger brothers and sisters who will be trained next. She is self-aware. His own potential is limited, far inferior to that category Big Brother and Smoothie. Rather than wasting a pretty good Logia ability like this, it's better to keep it for now. She is also very satisfied with the ability of Paramecia igniting the fruit, so there is no need to change it. In particular, Wilhelm once mentioned to them that he planned to use science and technology to allow Big Mom to conceive a child of Lunaria and Titan race, and also save their mother from changing their father every 3 days. If it is possible to create a monster with terrifying potential, it may be a huge boost to Wilhelm's ascension to the top. Leaving those powerful devil fruit abilities behind will undoubtedly come in handy. Since this is the case, then I won't say any more. See Armin's ability to reject Logia Mera Mera fruit. Knowing that this elder sister does not have much ambition in terms of strength, and her own potential is limited, it is indeed enough to have the Paramecia Ignite fruit. Wilhelm didn't persuade any more, and directly transferred the Logia Mera Mera fruit to the 10th ring. Immediately afterwards, he threw away the burned fruit that had become an empty shell and lost its power, and his figure flashed. In an instant, it had already skimmed over the sea several kilometers away. Stepping on the moonwalk, standing there, under the watchful eyes of Armand, Garrett, Olive, Custard and others. A blazing flame suddenly surged out from the 10 rings and appeared in his hand. Crackling. In an instant, the atmosphere was distorted and expanded continuously. In a blink of an eye, it turned into a great fireball with an upper diameter of hundreds of meters. Like a small artificial sun, held by Wilhelm in his hands. It exudes unparalleled heat, which makes people's scalp numb. From a distance, it looks like a god. Awesome. Is it the limit? Wilhelm looked calm. And the next moment, he threw the great fireball straight out, and ruthlessly blasted towards the sea in front of him. At the same time, the ability of the Paramecia Momo fruit in the 10 rings was decisively activated. Momo 30 times fireball. The exaggeratedly large great fireball, which is hundreds of meters in diameter and wide, is constantly expanding and accelerating at a speed visible to the naked eye. Distorting and crushing the atmosphere, it rushed to the distant sea. In the blink of an eye, it has turned into an unbelievably huge sun, with a diameter of no less than 3 kilometers, burning there. Like a real sun falling, it exploded directly on the sea 5 kilometers away. Boom. Crash. Crack. Zzz. The loud noise shook the sky. A violent heat wave swept across. Countless seawater was evaporated in an instant. The sea is boiling, the waves are turbulent, and the heat is filling the air. Exaggerated huge waves, wave after wave, rushed towards all directions. But Wilhelm has returned to everyone's side without knowing when. Amazing. Is this the true power of the 10 rings? It's just one hit, it's really amazing, it's so easy to cause such a scene. The coast, separated by several kilometers, can feel the intense heat wave, standing unsteadily. Garrett, Hancock, and Prim were all a little shocked. His eyes couldn't help but shine brightly, gazing at the stars, and looking at Wilhelm. His eyes were full of indescribable admiration. And Armand, Custard and the others couldn't help showing their splendor, and were a little amazed. Their younger brother, Wilhelm, is really getting stronger and stronger. Can imagine. The 10 rings, created by virtue of the ability to transfer fruits. Combined with Wilhelm's own monster-like power, it must be terrifyingly strong. Sure enough, although this kind of elemental ability cannot be said to be useless, the power that can be exerted on the lifeless 10 rings is extremely limited. However, as the culprit that caused this scene, looking at the turbulent and endlessly surging sea, Wilhelm looked calm, even a little disappointed in his eyes. This is also the reason why he wanted to create 10 rings, with elemental abilities at first, but gradually gave up later. After full verification, Paramecia's rule-based abilities are more suitable for the 10 rings than Logia's element-based abilities, such as Paramecia Momo fruit and Paramecia Gate fruit. Although this blow seemed shocking, it was far from what he expected. After all, the 10 rings are just dead things in the final analysis, and it is impossible to compare with people. It is the electricity he has mastered, combined with the ability of the Paramecia Momo fruit, to cause lethality. It is far better than the effect brought by the ability of the Logia Mera Mera fruit with the ability of Momo fruit. The other one is just icing on the cake. He has a feeling somewhere. Maybe wait until the ability of Paramecia to transfer fruit is officially awakened. Most likely, the 10 rings are no longer needed. In other words, it can greatly get rid of the dependence on the 10 rings. The next moment, the Kong Yunya at the waist suddenly unsheathed, and the cold light shone in the shrunk eyes of Yamato, Hancock, Sneyman, and Custard. Don't watch the sky from sitting in a well. A scene of this level, that is, the visual effect looks more shocking and shocking, but it is actually nothing. Holding the incomparably gorgeous Kong Yunya, Wilhelm said lightly, "Look, I don't need any external force, I just need to wave it lightly." The voice did not fall. He holds Kong Yunya in his right hand. Waved in a slow and unhurried manner, and left straight ahead. Ohm. The sound of the big voice is hilarious. The incomparably dazzling light is so dazzling that it is impossible to look directly at it. A huge dark blue slash directly tore through the vast sea like a destructive one. Boom. Boom. An exaggerated blow disrupted the sea, stretching to the sky, until hundreds of kilometers away that the naked eye cannot see clearly. A gigantic, seemingly endless, bottomless trench, like a real moat, cannot be recovered for a long time. It was so clearly presented in front of Yamato, Armand, Garrett, Hancock and all of them. Indescribably shocking. And this is just a knife that Wilhelm swung lightly like a stroll in the courtyard. The slash wave move of the flying pirate, Golden Lion, the veritable great swordsman in the past, can directly achieve this level. Now Wilhelm can do it just as easily, if not more easily. With one blow, it easily split hundreds of kilometers, or even further away, into the sea. It completely crushed the previous Wilhelm under the increase of Paramecia Momo fruit ability. Great fireball unleashed. 1. The sea broke. Gollum. What a power it is. Is this the true strength of Lord Wilhelm? The #1 swordsman in the world is nothing more than that? It's really amazing. Everyone present couldn't help opening their mouths wide, completely speechless. Not to mention Yamato, Garrett, Hancock, and Prim, and even Yasho, Armand, Strong, Sneyman, Custard and other strong swordsmen are deeply poisoned. Even Bakula, who had stayed in Impel down with Wilhelm for 3 months and thought she knew the strength of this lord, couldn't believe it. Because, in the tiny, freezing hell, there was simply no way Wilhelm could let his hands go completely. On weekdays, he deliberately restrained and suppressed the power of the slash. Until this moment, Wilhelm showed them what a real swordsman is. Just a light swing of the knife can split mountains and seas. East Blue, Shaki Village, Seymour. A huge arc came across the sky. It immediately attracted the attention of many villagers. The huge ship that can fly in the air undoubtedly shocked them who have lived in the small East Blue or even a small village all their lives, and have never seen the big world. But the arc didn't stay in port. Instead, it came directly to a kendo field. That is, a flying ship. Hiss, that's amazing. Is this really a boat? It's too big. Why did it stop there? Did it come to find the Lord? One Heart Sword Dojo. A large number of apprentices who were practicing swords were alarmed, looking in shock at the huge arc that stayed outside, suspended in the sky. A middle-aged man wearing glasses with a smile on his face and wearing a Taoist robe, who was teaching students, couldn't help but look serious and a little more dignified. Is this the place? Soon one after another, young and beautiful figures jumped down from above. It was Yamato, Garrett, Hancock, Armand, Sneyman, Custard and the others. Many of the apprentices who were in their prime of life stared intently at him with straight eyes. And in the end, a young man with long silver hair, who was too young, tall, with an immature face, slipped off the arc. Immediately, they were inexplicably shocked. An invisible pressure made these people tremble uncontrollably. Cold sweat broke out involuntarily. Even the headed dojo master, Shimotsuki Koshiro. There is also a tutu who has appeared at the door of the dojo at some time, holding a pipe. The old man with the high ponytail is obviously the Wanokuni swordsmith, Shimotsuki Kozaburo, who once forged the 2 famous swords of Yanmo and Tian Yuyu. But at this moment, the pupils of the 2 fathers and sons could not help shrinking sharply. The hairs all over their bodies stood up involuntarily, and their faces were moved, a little shocked. Great swordsmen. In particular, they, who often follow current affairs news from the Shi Jingbao, recognized each other's identities immediately. They couldn't believe it. This unbelievably young and underage, young master trembling, is naturally a real great swordsman. Just out of control. 2 indescribable, fierce auras that only real swordsmen possess surged out from the 2 of them. I really didn't expect that in the small village of Shimotsuki, there are actually 2 amazing swordmasters. Armand, Custard and the others sensed the astonishing aura of the 2 of them for the first time, and couldn't help shrinking their pupils. Is blue out of blue and better than blue? Wilhelm's sharp, penetrating gaze, like a falcon, swept across the father and son of Shimotsuki Kozaburo and Shimotsuki Koshiro, and finally settled on Shimotsuki Koshiro, admiring. It is indeed a sword. Where are the descendants of Haolongma? Shimotsuki Kozaburo, the famous Wanokuni craftsman, is strictly speaking weaker than his son, Shimotsuki Koshiro, the master of Yishinkan Dojo. Maybe it's because too much energy has been invested in the skill of swordcasting. Or, his own qualifications are not as high as his son Shimotsuki Koshiro. All in all, Shimotsuki Kozaburo's kendo practice is probably equivalent to that of Wilhelm when he first debuted. And Shimotsuki Koshiro is not simple. That kind of incomparably sharp aura is absolutely unmistakable. Although he is not yet a real great swordsman, he is already very close. It is certain that if there is no accident, he will be able to truly step into the realm of the great swordsman within 10 years at the most. Sword hero Dragon Horse? The legendary dragon-slaying warrior? Teacher, are you the descendants of the famous swordsman Ryoma? For a while, the apprentices gathered at the gate of the dojo couldn't help being in an uproar. Looking at Shimotsuki Kozaburo and Shimotsuki Koshiro father and son in disbelief, full of shock. Among them, there was a 5-year-old girl with short hair who was full of heroism. She stared blankly at her father and grandfather, a little in disbelief. Does your own family have such a big history? I didn't expect that a big man like you would come to the Little East Blue. Shimotsuki Koshiro took a deep breath, suppressed the strong fighting spirit that came from his heart, wishing to directly challenge the opponent, fixed his eyes on Wilhelm and said in a deep voice, I don't know what your honor is doing when you come to my humble house. And his father, Shimotsuki Kozaburo, watched Wilhelm for a moment. Then he glanced at the gorgeous saber on his waist. Whether it was the scabbard or the handle, his eyes narrowed, and he exclaimed in disbelief, "It's really a terrible knife." "Don't worry, we are not malicious." Wilhelm stared at the father and son Shimotsuki Kozaburo and Shimotsuki Koshiro, who looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy, and said with a smile, "I just want to visit the descendants of Dragon Slayer, Shimotsuki Ryoma. My subordinates also have a descendant of Shimotsuki Ryoma, and the name is Ryoma. It is said that it is a branch that broke away from the Wanokuni Shimotsuki clan almost 200 years ago." "I see." Shimotsuki Koshiro nodded suddenly, letting his guard down slightly. But after all, he still dare not be careless in the face of a monster with a bounty of more than 2 billion baileys. "The arrest warrant of the swordsman Ryoma in the Big Mom pirate group, I have seen it." Knocking on the pipe in his hand, Shimotsuki Kozaburo also nodded there and said, "Memories with me Shimotsuki Gyumaru, the heir of the Suzugo Shimotsuki family, really looks alike." As he said that, he couldn't help sighing a little. The sharp eyes. Sometimes I have to wonder whether he is or not the ancestor Shimotsuki Ryoma has been resurrected. Armand. Sneyman. Custard, as expected of a descendant of Shimotsuki Ryoma. Such a judgment can be made based on the photos on the arrest warrant alone. If it wasn't for overturning the common sense, Shimotsuki Koichiro himself couldn't believe it. It never occurred to him that he had made a mistake, and he almost guessed right. "Since you are a distinguished guest who came from afar, please come in and talk." Looking at the leader Wilhelm and Armand, Hancock, Custard and other women behind him. Suppressing his inner guard, Shimotsuki Koshiro smiled with his right hand. "Please don't despise the humble house. In the One Heart Sword Dojo. Let those apprentices keep practicing." Kozaburo and Koshiro led Wilhelm and other guests to the backyard. "Tea please." Shimotsuki Koshiro's wife is a very virtuous woman. The tea was brewed and delivered to Wilhelm, Alfred, Hancock and others. "Thanks." Slightly nodding his head in thanks. Wilhelm, who sat there, stared at Koshiro opposite. That sharp gaze pierced into his heart, and he asked calmly, "Your heart is obviously full of fighting spirit, but you still hesitate to move forward. What bound you? Maybe people are so contradictory, and sometimes they put shackles on themselves." Koshiro shrank his eyes, and immediately his tense body relaxed, and said vaguely, "In fact, with observation haki that can listen to the heart." Wilhelm has already seen Koshiro's inner thoughts. However, there is no deliberate exposition of the temple. Everyone has their own way, there is no need to force others to change. Father, Grandpa. Kuina, 5 years old, walked in. She looked at Wilhelm and the others curiously. "Big brother, are you a swordsman too?" His gaze stayed on Wilhelm's magnificent cloud tooth, full of curiosity. "Your knife is so beautiful, can I have a look?" "Kuina, you can't be so rude." Looking at his granddaughter lovingly, Kozaburo said with a smile, "It is not only beautiful, but also dangerous, children should not." But not yet. Wilhelm has already generously handed Kong Yunya in front of Kuina. But Kozaburo and Koshiro raised their eyebrows involuntarily, a little surprised. "Is it Kuina? It's a nice name. Just read it if you want, it's no big deal." Touching Kuina's small head, Wilhelm said with a smile, "It's called Kong Yunya. I used the ability of devil fruit to smelt a demon sword composed of many famous swords from first-generation Gush, Reikari, Hutch and so on. Ordinary people can't control it, don't pull them all out." "Devil fruit? First-generation Gush?" Kuina was full of surprise. She has practiced swordsmanship since she was a child, and she has naturally heard of famous swords such as first-generation Onitoru, Reikari, and Tiger Toru. Especially the first-generation Onitsu, said to be one of the top 12 knives of the Supreme Kuaisao, with a prominent reputation. Not only her, Kosaburo and Koshiro, father and son, couldn't help shrinking their pupils sharply, some couldn't believe it. How did not expect, the origin. Kang lang lang lang. Accompanied by the grinding sound of people's teeth. A stunning cold light lit up. It made Kuina's hair stand on end, and she felt goosebumps gushing out. The indescribably sharp breath made her scalp tingle, far better than her father's words of harmony. She kept in mind Wilhelm's order and did not pull out all of Kong Yun's teeth. Looking at it seriously there, the little face is full of surprises. "I always feel that this knife has an indescribable magic power, which tempts me to pull it out." Kozaburo and Koshiro, the father and son, also stared at this gorgeous ultimate sword with burning eyes. It turned out to be like this. At this time, Kozaburo suddenly realized. No wonder. This old man always thinks your sword is weird, Mr. Wilhelm. Just when Kuina was about to be affected by Kong Yunya's evil breath. When Koshiro, who had been paying attention, tried to stop it, Kong Yunya disappeared directly from her hand. That was just now. Kozaburo, Koshiro and the others couldn't help shrinking their pupils, a little shocked and inexplicable. It's just my devil fruit ability, don't be surprised. Wilhelm will suddenly return the Kong Yunya in his hand and put it back into the sheath, and said calmly. Although it looks extremely sharp, strictly speaking, it has no real sharp edge. Only Master Kozaburo, a famous craftsman like you is qualified to quench it and make a breakthrough. As he spoke, he directly sent Kong Yunya to Jang Saburo. This is also one of my reasons for coming today, please don't refuse. What? Haven't started yet? Isn't this sharp? And it's not just 5-year-old Kuina. Even Yamato, Hancock, Prim and the others couldn't help but be surprised, a little inconceivable. Kong Yunya's sharpness has always been obvious to all of them. Why did Wilhelm say that the knife has not yet been struck? It's hard to believe. Don't dare to be. Kozaburo, who was sitting next to him, did not refuse, and took the Kong Yunya handed over by Wilhelm. With a bang, it was pulled out completely. The cold light flickered, making Kuina's eyes widen there, even Koshiro's was no exception. Without taking his eyes off, he looked straight at the gorgeous blade that flashed a touch of scarlet, making it look incomparably bewitching. Although I don't know what devil fruit ability you use to perfectly integrate multiple famous knives, making it have a quality that is no less than any supreme Kuisao 12 crafts, and can even make it rank among the best. Koshiro, who was kneeling there, was amazed, and explained to his daughters Kuina, Yamato, and Hancock in a deep voice. But the ability of devil fruit can perfectly integrate the best materials, making it have the strongest and most the sharp shape. But that's just the appearance, and the core doesn't have a real beginning, it can only be regarded as a semi-finished famous sword. Kang. Flick the blade with your fingers. Listening to the crisp sound, Shimotsuki Kozaburo was a little emotional. This is a unique treasured sword. Its quality is the only one I have ever seen in my life. If it is really fully sharpened, ordinary famous swords are not qualified to collide with it at all, and will be ruthless. Cut off. Once this Kong Yunya really starts, what Shimotsuki Kozaburo can be sure of is that it is very likely that it will go beyond the scope of the supreme sword in the highest industry. Even the 2 swords that I painstakingly crafted can be ranked among the 21st swordsmen, and now I have given them to my son Koshiro's, Hidao Yi Wen, and the Kazuki family heir Kazuki Oden's, Yan Mo, in the early years. Also completely unqualified to head with Kong Yunya after the opening. If Haki is not a strong enough swordsman, and if the quality of his weapon is not high enough, he will be ruthlessly cut off by a destructive force the moment he collides with Kong Yunya. This is the bonus brought by the famous knife. Kong Yunya took the lead. It is estimated that it will take 10 days and a half months. Wilhelm and his party stayed in Seymour Juji village. Shimotsuki Kozaburo, on the other hand, disappeared without a trace, and plunged into the knife casting field built in deep Yamanaka. Not only Kong Yunya with Wilhelm, but also Armin's famous sword Whitefish, as well as the famous swords of Custard and Snaeman, were taken away by Kozaburo. Because, their knives have been processed and strengthened by the ability of Munch fruit. I didn't know it before, and I thought that as long as it was sharp and strong enough, it would be a strike. Now that I heard Koshiro's introduction, I naturally hope that my favorite knife can start again. In this sea, there are only a handful of swordsmiths who know such skills. For the vast majority of master knifesmiths, these knives strengthened with shape memory alloys through the ability of Munch fruit, no matter how sharp or hard, have reached the point where they can no longer be smelted, otherwise a little carelessness may ruin these famous knives. Otherwise, Wilhelm would not be where he is today. Drink. Early in the morning, it was still dark. The other students have not yet arrived. Kuina, who was only 5 years old, was already sweating profusely, waving the bamboo sword continuously. It looks like it has a shape. Mr. Wilhelm, good morning. See Wilhelm skimming off the arc floating there. Kuina, who was sweating and training there, stopped. I don't know if I was taught by Shimotsuki Koshiro, so I became a little rigid and bowed to Wilhelm. The action just now is a bit wrong, Wilhelm said with a smile. Really? Kuina tilted her head, full of doubt and incomprehension. Look at. Wilhelm reached out with his right hand. A bamboo sword appeared in his hand. The strength is controlled at the same level as Kuina, and the swing is unhurried. But no matter the angle or trajectory, it is just right. It feels completely different. The relaxed and freehand sword gave Kuina an intuition that no matter what, he couldn't avoid it. See clearly, Wilhelm looked at Kuina. Kuina nodded heavily. There, he closed his eyes and recalled the movement of Wilhelm's sword swing. But when you want to imitate, there is nowhere to focus, which is specious. However, it is obviously much better than when training alone before, and it looks decent. But Kuina was not happy. She tried several times in a row, but she couldn't get in at all. It is obviously the same force, the same angle. The effect is quite different. For a moment, she couldn't help being a little discouraged. Already very good. Wilhelm smiled and said, "Don't worry, practice slowly." "What about practicing again?" Kuina was a little downcast, with red eye circles. She clenched her small fists tightly, biting her lips full of unwillingness. Father said that girls are not as good as boys, no matter in terms of physical strength or strength. The inherent limitations are too great. No matter how hard I try, I will never be able to become the world's #1 swordsman. Generally speaking, this is true. Women and men do have inherent differences. Wilhelm nodded. If they all have undergone similar exercises, very few girls can surpass boys of the same age, especially after the body begins to develop. This will become more and more obvious. But nothing is absolute, and you don't have to be discouraged. Touching Kuina's small head, Wilhelm encouraged with a light smile. In this world, except for the special kind of people who are born with monster-like physique and talents, the vast majority girls who want to make up for this shortcoming must pay more efforts and sweat. Besides, it's not that women have no advantages at all, not to mention, there are other shortcuts. Shortcut? Kuina blinked her big eyes, staring blankly at the ridiculously handsome Wilhelm in front of her. The advantage is that women are generally more careful and patient than men. At least, this is the case for you, Kuina. You have tenacity and patience that men can't match. Wilhelm smiled and explained. As for the shortcut, it's very simple. Devil fruit is an existence beyond human wisdom and imagination. Some special devil fruits can indeed break the innate boundaries and constraints of women, and make up for the innate deficiencies in physical strength and strength, so as to be comparable to men, and even release more powerful potential. Like you, Brother Wilhelm, do you have devil fruit abilities? Kuina's eyes lit up, but immediately thought of something, like a bucket of water poured from the head, full of frustration. He lowered his head and said with some disappointment, "But, I heard that devil fruit is called the secret treasure of the sea, and the worst one needs hundreds of millions of Baileys." In Kuina's view, with her family relying on the dojo to teach others swordsmanship, it is barely passable, but it is far from the limited conditions of being rich, and it is impossible to get such precious things as devil fruit. What's more, her father, Koshiro, may not agree. To the real strong, devil fruit is nothing. Wilhelm touched Kuina's small face and asked with a smile, "Are you going to be my disciple?" "Huh? Disciple?" Kuina's eyes widened and she looked up at Wilhelm. Full of puzzlement and surprise, "I thought I had heard it wrong." Although the other party looked not much older than himself, far younger than his father. But Kuina already knew from her father and grandfather that this ridiculously young and beautiful silver-haired big brother is a veritable great swordsman. Even his own father, when he talked about it, couldn't help bowing down. "Can I really?" The little girl's eyes sparkled. Clenching small fists, full of expectations, big, watery eyes eagerly stared at Wilhelm. "Of course there is no problem. I have seen the great swordsman's potential in you." Bending down, putting his hands on her small shoulders, Wilhelm looked at Kuina with gentle eyes. "Although I can't guarantee that you, Kuina, will become the world's #1 swordsman, I believe that with your talent and ability, you can become one. The great swordsman who is famous in the sea, but there will be no problem. The world's greatest swordsman. Sorry, this throne will soon be his. However, the second in the world, the third in the world, the fourth in the world. It's still possible to be at the top. Staying in Little East Blue will only bury her wonderful talent." Having said that, Wilhelm paused and looked towards the direction of the corridor. "What do you think, Mr. Koshiro?"